Listen to me now, not later, not someday, but now. Because what I am about to say is for you, and only a rare few will ever hear it this clearly. You passed, and that truth is about to change everything. This is not just another message, it is your unveiling, your confirmation, your holy interruption. I've waited until this exact moment to speak this word into your life, and if you walk away too soon, you may miss the very reason you were born. Stay with me until the final second. Don't scroll. Don't pause. Don't let distraction rob you of what I've reserved. Because in the next few moments, I will reveal why others walked away but you survived. Why you were hidden. Why you were stretched. Why you were denied, and why you're about to be revealed. This is not random. This is heaven's broadcast, sent directly to your spirit. I speak to you now as the God who saw you in the fire and never flinched. I speak as the one who authored the test and is now preparing the reward. Every line that follows will be divine documentation of what you passed through and what is about to pass to you. Don't just listen. Witness. Don't just feel it. Own it. Because by the end, your spirit will testify, this was meant for me. My beloved, you didn't just make it through. You passed a test few ever see, and even fewer survive. Do you understand the magnitude of what has just taken place in your life? You walked through a corridor of trial that wasn't announced with trumpets or marked by crowns, yet heaven stood still as you crossed its threshold. You didn't just endure a storm, you stepped into a proving ground, where your spirit was measured not by performance, but by perseverance, not by applause but by alignment. And while others may never know the weight of what you just carried, I do. I saw it all. I marked the very hour your faith trembled but held firm. I was present when you wanted to collapse inward and disappear, when the night stretched longer than your hope, and your tears watered pillows no one saw. And child, hear me, in that invisible space, you passed. Not because you were strong, but because you let me carry you. You didn't escape the fire. You endured it without bowing, without breaking, and without betraying what I placed inside you. This wasn't a test of how well you performed under pressure. This was a revelation of who you are when no one is watching but me. I watched the layers peel back one by one. I saw the masks fall when you thought it was safe to let go. I heard the unspoken ache in your silence, the groaning of your soul in moments where words failed. You thought the trial was about endurance, but it was about exposure, revealing the rare gem of faith within you that could only be uncovered through crushing. Others looked at your life and assumed stillness. They assumed nothing was happening. But I knew better. I knew the war taking place in your spirit, and I knew what it would produce. You passed not because you emerged untouched, but because you emerged unbitter, unbroken, and unwilling to let go of my hand. And this, my child, is what distinguishes you. Not your knowledge, not your gifting, but your refusal to walk away when every cell in your body was screaming for relief. That kind of surrender, that kind of faith, is what I reward with access that no one else understands. You didn't just survive something hard. You crossed into something holy, and only rare few will ever stand where you now stand. My beloved child, let me take you back to the moments no one applauded, the days when even your own heartbeat seemed unsure whether to continue. The hour when shadows whispered that quitting would be easier than trusting, that silence was safer than belief. The voices came like thunder, doubt disguised as logic, despair dressed as practicality, fear wearing the mask of reason. Everything around you screamed surrender. The atmosphere echoed with permission to give up, and the world would have understood if you had. But in the midst of that chaos, you did something only the rarest ones do. You chose stillness. You didn't run toward distractions. You didn't drown your pain in noise. You sat in it. You stayed. You stood still when it felt like stillness would crush you. And that, my child, wasn't weakness. That was sacred war. You were waging warfare without lifting a finger, because surrendering to my presence in the middle of pressure is the kind of obedience that shakes spiritual realms. Stillness is not passive. Stillness is not a lack of motion. It is the language of trust when the script makes no sense. You were surrounded by exit signs, but you chose the altar. You were surrounded by escape routes, but you chose encounter. You didn't numb yourself with temporary relief. You leaned into the ache, into the trembling silence, into the space where I was waiting with answers too heavy to hand to the distracted. Do you know what that told me about you? That told me you trust my character even when you don't understand my conduct. That told me your faith isn't just tied to what I do, but to who I am. That told me you belong to the rare remnant who won't sell their surrender for comfort. And I took notice. Heaven took notice. The angels assigned to your life paused their rhythm to whisper among themselves, "Look, they are still standing." That kind of stillness is thunder in the spirit realm. It is louder than complaints, deeper than declarations. It is sacred. It is strength disguised in reverence. It is why you've just passed into a territory that can't be accessed by performance, only by presence. My voice was not absent in those hours of torment. I was speaking through the quiet, through the tension, through the ache. My whisper rode on the weight pressing into your chest, not to crush you, but to draw your spirit into alignment. That silence wasn't punishment, it was a proving ground. And every second you remained still became a sermon louder than the storms. Your obedience in stillness is why I'm now releasing a reward that can't be explained. Not everyone will understand why doors are about to open without effort. Not everyone will comprehend why peace is about to replace panic so swiftly. But I will. Because I was there. I was in the stillness. I was in the pause. I was in the very moment you thought nothing was happening. And child, everything was. While others chose escape, you chose encounter. And now, I will encounter you in ways you never imagined. My child, come closer. I want you to understand what just happened in the unseen realm, and why you've crossed into a sacred place few ever find. This trial wasn't a measurement of how well you could keep it all together. I wasn't looking at your composure. I was gazing at your posture. I didn't tally your words or grade your ability to smile through the storm. I was watching the way you bowed. The world sees strength in standing tall, but I see victory in those who collapse into me with surrendered hearts. You bowed when you could have blamed. You wept without walking away. You knelt in private moments that no human will ever applaud, but heaven erupted each time. I saw every time your hands lifted even when your soul was trembling. I saw the way your spirit stretched to believe me again, even after disappointment carved lines across your heart. And I want you to hear me clearly, that posture is holy. It is precious. It is rare. And it is why I am lifting you now into the place where only postured hearts can dwell. This wasn't about perfection. I never demanded flawlessness. I looked for faithfulness in the fold of your soul, and I found it there, hidden beneath layers of weariness. I heard the worship rise from your gut when your mouth had no words left. I noticed how your spine bent under the weight but didn't break. And that bending, that posture, was a prophetic picture of your spirit yielding to mine. I do not raise the loudest. I do not promote the ones who perform. I honor the bowed. I elevate the postured. Because postured hearts are safe places for my glory to dwell. You see, the oil I'm about to pour cannot rest on proud shoulders. It cannot sit on entitled crowns. It must find its way to those who've made me their only strategy, their only plan, their only peace. And you, my child, made me all of that and more. I've written your posture into the scrolls of remembrance. Not one silent yes went unnoticed. Not one bowed head was ignored. You passed because you learned the sacred rhythm of surrender. While others partied for people, you partied for me. While others climbed ladders of influence, you fell to your knees in intimacy. And that is why you are about to walk into blessings so precisely tailored to your DNA. Others will marvel. But hear this, they will not understand, because they did not see the posture. They didn't see you in the midnight hour, whispering trust through cracked lips. They didn't see the tears that soaked your altar. What I did, I recorded it all. And now I am responding, not to your outward strength, but to the inward sanctuary you built with every moment of surrender. My beloved, lean into my voice right now. I am bringing you back to those bitter, beautiful hours when answers vanished into silence. Do you remember them? The nights when the heavens fell zipped shut. The mornings when you reached for signs and found shadows. The hours you spoke to me and wondered if even your words believed themselves. And still, you held on. You wrapped your fingers, not around a solution, but around a whisper. You clung, not to clarity, but to covenant. Your heart, though bruised by delay, refused to let go. And I want you to know, child, that is the kind of trust that shifts atmospheres. That is the faith that bends timelines. That is the unwavering, aching, bleeding kind of belief that moves my heart like thunder in my throne room. You didn't just wait, you warred. Not with noise, but with nearness. Not with evidence, but with endurance. I saw the ache that rose in your chest when prayers felt like monologues. I watched as you reached for the promises I gave you when they felt more like memories than prophecies. You could have let go. You could have turned away like so many do when the answers run dry. But instead, you chose to trust the character of the one who called you, even when the cadence of my timing made no sense. That is not ordinary faith. That is not surface-level belief. That is the rare, refined gold that can only be forged in the furnace of mystery. It is the trust I reward, the kind I build upon, the kind I announce across the heavens with holy reverence. When others demanded proof, you offered me your posture. When others doubted my delay, you deepened your dependence. That trust is not small. It is seismic. Let me tell you what happens in heaven when you trust me without answers. The scrolls of remembrance open. The angels pause their assignments to record the moment. I send witnesses to mark the weight of your belief. Because that kind of trust becomes a fragrance. It rises through every realm. It weaves through dimensions and enters my courts like incense. The incense of those who believe me when everything else says not to. That is what you've done, beloved. You trusted me in the ache. You believed me in the blank spaces. And for that, I am about to reward you with something not even your wildest hope would have dared request. Because when you trust me without seeing, you give me permission to give without measure. You held faith when answers disappeared, and now I'm about to appear in ways that make every ounce of your trust worth it. My child, I need you to know what your yes meant, not to them, but to me. You whispered it when the room was empty. You whispered it through tears. You whispered it without an audience, without applause, without the echo of encouragement. And that yes, beloved, that sacred, quiet, costly yes, was louder than the no's that surrounded you. I heard it. Heaven heard it. The throne room shifted because of it. You didn't say yes because it was easy. You didn't say yes because it came with guarantees. You said yes in the middle of shaking. You said yes while holding unanswered prayers and an unexplainable ache. And that yes, child, it echoed. It reverberated through realms. It was caught by the ears of angels and carried into the heart of my Father. Don't ever think your obedience went unnoticed just because the earth didn't cheer. The silence of men doesn't equal the silence of God. I saw it. I always saw it. Let me pull back the veil for a moment. While you were saying yes in your car, in your bedroom, in your kitchen, thinking no one noticed, I was moving angels into place. I was responding in dimensions beyond what your natural eyes could see. But yes wasn't small. It was seismic. Every act of obedience is a seed, but the ones you sowed in obscurity, those are the ones I water with heaven's own rain. You thought it was just a moment, but it was a milestone. You thought you were surviving, but you were shifting the atmosphere. Every yes in secret has now built an altar I am about to set aflame in public. Not because you performed, but because you persevered. You didn't say yes to be seen. You said yes because you believe. You said yes because you trust me more than your timeline, more than your fears, more than your own understanding. And that, child, is why this next season won't look like anything you've seen before. Your yes wrote a signature across the scroll of heaven. I've marked it. I've mirrored it in my own blood, because your covenant response mirrors mine. I didn't require a parade. I asked for a posture, and you gave me one, trembling but true. That yes was pregnant with surrender. It was laced with fire, and now it has reached the fullness of time. I will show you what I do with whispered obedience. I will show you what I pour out over quiet loyalty. This wasn't performance. This was a posture. And now that the soil of your soul has been drenched in sacred yeses, I will send the rain. Prepare for it, beloved. Your yes was not an echo lost in the void. It was a song that reached my throne. And I am singing back. My beloved, I need you to understand something very few on this earth ever grasp. You didn't just make it through, you grew. You didn't just endure. You expanded. While others were measuring success by what they could hold in their hands, I was watching how you handled what no one else could see. While they celebrated platforms and prizes, I was shaping you in secret, carving character beneath the surface where applause never echoes. The silence wasn't a delay. It was my design. I hid you, not to punish you, but to prepare you. I pulled you aside, not to keep you behind, but to set you apart. For child, the glory I am about to place upon you is too weighty for shallow souls. It is too sacred to be handed to the unformed. I had to press you so that what I'm about to pour through you wouldn't break you. And now, because you endured the pressing, you are ready for the power. This isn't just maturity, this is metamorphosis. You are not the same as you were before the trial. The heat that surrounded you didn't burn you. It refined you. It didn't consume your identity. It clarified it. And that clarity was costly. You lost people. You lost places. You lost comforts you thought you needed. But in losing them, you gained something eternal. Discernment, depth, and divine proximity. You no longer look for me in the noise. You hear me in the stillness. You no longer chase signs. You follow my spirit. That, child, is the mark of maturity. You stopped waiting for the world to approve your process. You let me lead you in the dark. And now, I can trust you with what few can carry. This is not the reward of effort. This is the entrustment of endurance. Not everyone will understand the anointing on your life. That's because they didn't sit through the sessions I led in silence. They didn't walk the hallways of hiddenness where you and I built something sacred, line by trembling line. Do not underestimate what has happened in your spirit. You thought you were just surviving the delay, but I was upgrading your capacity. I was increasing the volume of heaven you could carry. You see, the kind of glory I'm about to release through your life cannot rest on shallow ground. It must be anchored in deep wells, wells that you dug in the lonely hours, the hidden prayers, the unseen faithfulness. And now, beloved, you are standing on the threshold of the very thing I have been preparing all along. What others call overnight breakthrough is simply the revealing of what I've been building beneath the surface for years. Your roots are deep now. Your spirit is stable. And the wind that once threatened to knock you down will now carry your voice across valleys you didn't even know existed. You didn't just endure. You matured. And that maturity is the gate through which my glory will enter your life. Come closer, child. I want to talk to you about the weight, the invisible heaviness that settled into your chest during nights of anguish, the pressure that pressed into your soul until you thought surely something within would break. But here's what you need to see. That weight wasn't sent to destroy you. It was sent to define you. You asked me to make you strong. You asked me to use your life for my glory. But strength isn't forged in ease. Glory doesn't rest where there is no proof. So I allowed the weight to come, not as punishment, but as preparation. I didn't send it to crush you. I allowed it to come so it could confirm what I already knew about you. You weren't as fragile as fear said. You weren't as lost as doubt tried to convince you. Under pressure, your true self emerged, not the version polished by perfectionism, but the one purified by perseverance. You didn't fall apart. You fell into me. What was meant to break you only revealed what I built into you before the foundations of the earth. You kept waiting for the pressure to ease, but I was using it to extract what was eternal. The oil, child, the oil I've been preparing, only comes through crushing. And now, that oil is flowing. Others looked at your situation and assumed you'd lost. They couldn't see that you were gaining something sacred, a testimony forged in fire, a heart free from performance, a faith that frightens hell. Because what proves you also promotes you. And what promotes you isn't performance, it's proof. Proof that your roots went deep. Proof that your worship wasn't shallow. Proof that your yes wasn't circumstantial. And now that proof is about to speak louder than your pain ever did. Do you know what I see when I look at you now? I see one who passed through the flames and did not smell like smoke. I see one who stood when standing didn't make sense. I see one who fought for peace in the middle of storms that tried to steal every breath. And because you let the weight press you into me instead of press you out of faith, I will now press my glory into your life with the same force. The enemy wanted you to cave, but you chose covenant. The enemy tried to break your back, but you bent your knees. And child, that bending became your breakthrough. A weight that should have buried you became the witness that you were always built for this. You are not a survivor. You are a sign. A living sign that proves what is possible when a soul says yes in the fire. My child, I know there were moments when your soul whispered the question you were too afraid to ask aloud. Did you forget me? The silence around you felt louder than any promise. The days stretched long and dry, like walking barefoot through deserts of delay. You looked around and saw others flourishing, doors opening, prayers answered, and still you remained, faithful, yet seemingly unseen. But hear me now with every fiber of your being. I never missed a moment. I never looked away. Not once. I was watching when you lifted your hands in worship even when your heart felt hollow. I was listening when your voice cracked under the weight of prayers that seemed unanswered. I saw you all. every step you took when the ground beneath you trembled. I measured them with divine precision. I didn't forget you. I focused on you. And what felt like being overlooked was actually being overseen by the eyes that missed nothing, not even the tears that never left your cheek. Do you understand what it means to be seen by me? It's not casual. It's not distant. My watching isn't passive observation. It is protective obsession. I watched with the attentiveness of a father guarding destiny. I watched like an artist hovering over a masterpiece in progress. I wasn't just present in the moments when things made sense. I was intensely involved in the hours when everything fell apart. When the room was silent and your chest tightened from the weight of questions without answers. I was there, not just as a spectator, but as the architect of the next chapter. And though you couldn't see my hand, you felt the nudge to keep going. That nudge was me. That flicker of hope in the dark. Me. That sudden strength to take one more step when your soul screamed to collapse. Also me. You weren't forgotten. You were being framed within a story that required silence so the volume of my response could be unmistakable. You see, child, I am not bound by human recognition. While others missed your movement, I documented every detail. While they saw stillness, I saw strategy. While they saw delay, I saw development. I wasn't distracted. I was designing. You felt invisible to people, but you were illuminated in my presence. There were times you begged for a sign that I was still near, and I responded not with a spectacle, but with the subtle, a breath of peace, a pause in the panic, a scripture you stumbled across by accident. Each one was my signature. You felt forgotten, but I was recording every decision, every denial of flesh, every declaration of faith whispered through trembling lips. And now, I will not be silent. I will show you what I do for the one who stays when it seems nothing is moving. You stayed. You trusted. You believe. And now I'm responding. Not because you cried the loudest, but because you cried the longest. My beloved, lean into this, because you must understand how rare you are in a world that runs. When the weight increased, the path narrowed, and the pain stretched beyond what made sense, you had every logical reason to walk away. Others would have called it wise. Many would have applauded your exit. And still you stayed. You stayed when silence rang louder than comfort. You stayed when doubt danced around your dreams like vultures circling the vulnerable. You stayed when the wilderness felt endless and the temptation to find another way felt like relief. But instead of choosing convenience, you chose covenant. Instead of chasing escape, you embraced encounter. And that, my child, is what separates you from the crowd. That is why you passed. Convenience is the counterfeit of calling. It looks easy, feels comfortable, and arrives quickly, but it always costs more than it offers. It demands your identity in exchange for ease. It promises peace but delivers passivity. But you, beloved, refused to sell your destiny for a shortcut. You refused to trade the sacred for the simple. While others pivoted to what was fast, you anchored in what was faithful. You took the long road, the holy one. You didn't chase result, you chose relationship. You didn't chase platforms, you pursued my presence. And that decision, over and over again, when no one saw, became the foundation for everything I'm about to build through you now. What I am releasing isn't just breakthrough, it's recognition. Not from people, but from heaven. You stayed, and heaven took notice. Let me tell you something only the rare ones hear. Staying when leaving is easier is not a small thing in my kingdom. It is everything. Because when you stay, you're not just enduring. You're exalting me above your emotions. You're declaring that my promise is greater than your pain. You're proving that you'd rather walk through fire with me than into comfort without me. And those who make that decision unlock dimensions of glory that convenience could never access. That's where you are now, standing at the edge of a revelation that was preserved for the ones who stayed. You passed, not because you never struggled, but because your struggle never stole your surrender. You bent, but you did not bow to compromise. You waited, but you never wondered. And that's why I'm about to reward you with something only the faithful few ever see. My glory that rests, not just visits. My favor that flows, not just flickers. You stayed. And now I will show you why that one decision changes everything. Child, I know you didn't ask for silence. I know you long for clear signs, loud answers, and audible affirmation. But what I gave you instead was stillness, space, sacred silence. It wasn't punishment, it was preparation. It was a hush of heaven creating room for revelation deeper than noise could deliver. Because, beloved, some lessons can't be shouted, they must be shaped. Some truths aren't taught in loud moments, but birthed in the soft soil of waiting. The silence you feared was my voice turned inward, into your spirit, not your ears. While you waited for external signs, I was crafting internal strength. While you begged for forward motion, I was building foundations that could hold the future you kept praying for. The silence wasn't empty. It was full of unseen activity. A divine dialogue, happening beyond the reach of your senses, between your surrendered soul and my sovereign plan. The delays, they were divine detours. They didn't mean denial, they meant development. They were not blockades, they were blueprints. You thought you were stuck. I was actually strengthening you. I was teaching you what fast progress could never impart: trust without timelines, peace without proof, and surrender without control. These are the lessons that do not come in a rush. They are carved in the cave, engraved in the eight. And child, you endured that classroom without dropping out. Others walk away when the answer takes too long. Others close their books when the silence lingers. But not you. You kept showing up, to your prayer time, to my presence, to the posture of faith. And that consistency, that commitment, is why you are now standing at the edge of a shift only heaven can explain. What felt like dormancy was destiny being deepened. What felt like nothing was actually nurturing the very roots that now hold your new beginning. Do you know what I see when I look back at those quiet chapters of your life? I see a student of surrender. I see one who didn't demand clarity, but cultivated character. I see one who learned the sacred language of waiting, not as a pause, but as a process. I watched you ask questions with reverence, not rebellion. I watched you lean into the unknown instead of fleeing it. And that's when I knew I could trust you with more. Because you didn't just survive the silence. You let it shape you. You let it slow you down, so I could speak to what others rush past. You are now carrying wisdom that wasn't taught in words. It was imparted through intimacy. And what I'm about to release through you is the fruit of that hidden education. This is not just promotion. This is a graduation. From silence to sound. From delay to display. And child, you didn't fail the test. You passed the process. My beloved, let's talk about the moment you thought you lost. The day your tears spoke louder than your confidence. The hour when disappointment wrapped around your faith like a fog, and you whispered, I thought it would feel different. The world didn't celebrate you. No banner dropped. No crowd applauded. There were no headlines, no hallelujahs. Just quiet. Just ordinary. Just another unnoticed yes in a world obsessed with noise. But I want you to hear me now. Your victory, though invisible to many, roared like thunder in my courts. While others were measuring your progress by external wins, I was marking your breakthrough by internal war. And you, child, won a war no one else knew you were even fighting. You didn't slay giants with swords. You slayed shame with surrender. You didn't conquer mountains with might. You conquered fear with faith. That's victory in its purest, rarest form. You didn't need a stage to win. You needed stillness. You didn't need applause to prove it. You needed authenticity. Heaven doesn't roar for the flashy. It thunders for the faithful. And that's what you are. Faithful when it felt fruitless. Steady when everything shook. Worshipful when the answers ran dry. That's the kind of victory that sends shockwaves through spiritual dimensions. Angels weren't just observing. They were recording. That moment you chose to forgive the one who never apologized. Thunder. That second you whispered yes with shaking hands and tired eyes. Thunder. That time you prayed for someone else's blessing while waiting for your own. Thunder. Your obedience broke barriers. Your surrender opened vaults. The sound you couldn't hear in the natural was shaking gates in the supernatural. And now, the echo of that thunder is bringing the rain of reward. I never measured you by the size of your outcomes. I measured you by the sound of your surrender. And that sound, child, was holy. It was heavier than the applause of men. It was richer than the roar of crowds. It was the sound of a life laid down in secret, and I exalt what is hidden in humility. So, do not let the lack of recognition fool you. I recognize you. I remember you. And now, I will respond to you. You didn't need to win in front of people to be crowned in heaven. Your victory was in choosing me when nothing made sense. Your triumph was in trusting me when everything else was tempting you to walk away. And now, because you won the war within, I'm releasing the victory without. Let the world wonder. Let them question. But you and I, we know what this cost. And I will not let your quiet thunder go unanswered. My child, you think the loudest prayers are the most powerful, but let me tell you what moves me most. The one soaked in surrender, cracked by weariness, and whispered through trembling lips. I watched you on the days when your words barely made it past your throat, when your breath stuttered beneath the pressure, when your hands trembled not from doubt, but from the weight of still believing. I watched you fold your hands, not in strength, but in surrender. And I want you to know, those moments were not small. They were seismic. Every time your voice cracked but still called my name, it sent tremors into the eternal. Your whisper, child, that fragile breath of faith, thundered through the courts of heaven like a war cry wrapped in worship. Do not ever underestimate what your trembling voice accomplished. While the enemy tried to convince you your prayers were too weak, I was catching every syllable like sacred treasure. Your stammer was strength to me, because prayer isn't performance, it's proximity. And you didn't come to me with polish, you came with raw and unraveling faith. That's what I love. It's what I answered. You cried, not with eloquence, but with honesty. You didn't rehearse declarations, you whispered desperation. And beloved, that desperation has built altars in places others will never see. Do you know what makes that kind of whisper holy? It's the fact that you kept praying when the silence stretched and the sorrow shouted. You kept coming back, even when hope was hard to hold, even when answers felt miles away, and every return was a statement to the heavens. I trust you more than I fear the unknown. It whispered with a weapon. It broke chains you didn't even know were wrapped around you. It released angelic assignments you'll only understand in eternity. It rattled the roots of lies that once clung to your soul. Because when a trembling voice rises in faith, hell cannot hold its ground. The kingdom of darkness doesn't fear loud declarations. It fears the one who whispers, God, I still believe after disappointment. That prayer, that whisper, is why you've passed. Not because you were loud, not because you were perfect, but because your cracked whisper carried the kind of devotion that made demons tremble and angels arise. And now, I will reward what you did in secret. The prayers no one heard, I did, and I'm answering them in ways too glorious to describe. Keep whispering, child. Keep trembling, because trembling trust is treasured in heaven. And now, as I begin to reward you openly, I invite you to become a vessel of reward for others. You who have passed through silence, let your support now become sound. Your generosity is not just financial, it's prophetic. It's the sowing of seed into my word, the kind that multiplies not just in your life, but in souls you'll never meet this side of heaven. Give, and it will be given to you. Pressed down, shaken together, and running over, I speak again today as I did in Luke 6:30a. The oil I've poured into you can now flow to others through your giving. Support this message through Super Thanks, membership, or the PayPal link below, and watch how I bring a harvest beyond your imagination. Do it now, child. Sow where you've been fed. Fuel what is feeding others. Be my river of release. You've been taught to count wins in visible ways, closed deals, open doors, rising numbers, tangible proof. But I am not man. I am not impressed by statistics, accolades, or applause. I weigh things differently. I weigh hearts. I measure motives. I don't count steps, I trace sincerity. And I want you to know, child, every unseen movement you made toward me, every decision born in integrity rather than image, every time you chose quiet obedience over public validation, I was watching. I was weighing. I wasn't measuring you by what changed around you. I was watching what was changing within you. And what I saw, even when you couldn't see it yourself, was gold forming in the secret places of your soul. Others saw you stuck. I saw you surrendering. They looked for fruit. I looked for faithfulness. And child, your heart was heavy, but it never hardened. You questioned, but you didn't quit. You wrestled, but you didn't run. You could have let bitterness take root, but instead you let my presence tend to your wounds. And that, beloved, is what separates the called from the chosen. Not their ability to perform, but their willingness to be pruned in private. You were willing. You let me press and purge and pull. You let me examine parts of your soul even you didn't want to see. You expose your fears, your doubts, your deepest questions, not to others but to me. That's trust. That's intimacy. That's what I've always wanted. Not just your victories, but your vulnerability. You see, the world is busy building platforms, but I was building a priesthood. While others posted progress, you cultivated purity. While they polished perfection, you invited me into your process. You let me teach you how to be still when everyone else was racing. You let me dig deep, even when it hurt. And now, because your heart has passed through my refining fire, I am raising you in a way that no man can replicate and no enemy can reverse. This isn't promotion based on results. This is revelation based on refinement. You don't even know how much has shifted in the unseen because of what you allowed me to do in your hiddenness. But soon, child, soon the fruit will appear. And when it does, they'll wonder how it happened. And you will know, it happened because God wasn't measuring outcomes. He was weighing of heart. My beloved, the pressure was real, not just emotional, but spiritual, physical, relational. The pressure came like a tidal wave, attempting to drown your peace, crush your breath, and blur your vision. It didn't knock politely. It barged in. It rattled foundations. It tested limits. And you, fragile, aching, weary, didn't fight back with anger. You didn't lash out or unravel into bitterness. You did something holy. You folded your hands. You bowed your head. You breathed a prayer so soft it wouldn't have been heard by human ears, but it thundered in mine. That act, simple yet sacred, wasn't small. It was seismic. Because folding your hands in surrender under pressure is one of the rarest and most reverent things a child of mine can do. It says, I trust you, even when I don't understand. It says, I yield, even when I could resist. It says, you're still God, even when I feel undone. You didn't fold into defeat. You folded into me. And child, I watched that moment more closely than you could ever imagine. I saw how the enemy surrounded you with temptation, to quit, to retaliate, to retreat. I saw how life pressed in like 1,000 invisible hands, trying to squeeze the breath out of your spirit. And yet, there you were, palms pressed, eyes closed, heart open. Do you know how rare that is? In a world that trains warriors to fight back with fire, you chose faith. In a culture that idolizes independence, you chose intimacy. You didn't perform for me. You postured yourself before me. That surrender, that sacred stillness, echoed louder in the spirit realm than 1,000 shouted prayers. Because it wasn't emotion. It was covenant. It wasn't dramatics. It was devotion. And I need you to understand what that surrender accomplished. It was a seed, buried deep into the soil of your process. It was a signal, not to prove your strength, but to show where your strength comes from. Your hands folded in prayer became the doorway to divine strategy. While others panicked, you paused. While they ran, you remained. While they shouted, you whispered my name. And I moved. Heaven began orchestrating the very things your striving could never produce. Because surrender always accelerates what force delays. You passed, not because you figured everything out, but because you folded your hands instead of your faith. And now I am unfolding things that were hidden. The surrender that felt small is now becoming your song, a testimony not of triumph through strength, but of glory through giving me everything, even your ability to control the outcome. You didn't fold under pressure. You folded into promise. And I saw. Child, come closer now. I want you to hear what few are ever ready to receive, not because you need recognition, but because I am a God of recompense. What you walked through in the shadows, I will now redeem in the spotlight. Not to glorify you, but to vindicate what I formed in the hidden place. You see, the test wasn't made for eyes to see. It was customized, curated, and calibrated for your spirit alone. I didn't announce it. I didn't post it. I didn't let others in on what you were carrying, because it wasn't for them to understand. It was for me to witness. And I did. I saw every private war. I heard every silent scream. I counted every cost that no one clapped for. And now, I will reward you, not in secret, but in the open. I will cause others to see the fruit of what they didn't even know you sowed. I will cause those who thought you were forgotten to watch favor flood your life in ways they cannot explain. I am not doing this because you need their approval. You don't. I'm doing it because I promise that what is done in secret, I will reward in the open. And I do not lie. I do not tease. I do not overlook. What you passed through privately was holy. It was harder than hell and heavy than some days. What you didn't quit. You didn't bow to bitterness. You didn't demand validation. You just kept saying yes in the shadows. And that yes has now reached full bloom. What was hidden will now be heralded, not with man's trumpet but with heaven's declaration. This one passed. Not passed by people, passed by me. And hear this, when the reward comes, it will not make you arrogant. It will make you aware of my faithfulness, aware of how I never left you, not even once, aware of the tears I bottled, the sighs I translated, the battles I fought on your behalf without your knowing. This reward is not a trophy. It is a testament, a living monument that says, this child trusted me when no one else saw. And I will cause the table I've prepared to be set in the presence of the very pressures that tried to take you out. I don't waste private pain. I transform it into public power. I don't forget hidden faithfulness. I amplify it into generational favor. What's coming next isn't random. It's recompense. Get ready. I will honor you openly for what you endured quietly. Because you passed. And now it's time to reveal why. There's something sacred I must tell you, child. And I speak it now to heal the ache that's been echoing in the background of your soul. The silence you experienced. It wasn't rejection. It wasn't abandonment. It wasn't punishment. It was refinement. I wasn't turning my back on you. I was turning up the fire, not to burn you, but to brand you with my glory. You asked me for more. You asked me to take you deeper. You said, use me, Lord. And I said yes, but first, I needed to prepare you to carry what you were asking for. I couldn't pour out weighty assignments on a vessel still leaking insecurity. I couldn't give you keys to kingdom authority while you were still questioning if you belonged in the room. So I allowed silence, not to distance you, but to deepen you. To press the noise of the world out of your ears so my whisper could pierce through everything else. I know you wondered why I wasn't speaking. I know the silence made you question if you were disqualified. But child, you were being qualified. Silently. Steadily. Supernaturally. Just like gold is refined in fire, so were you. I was burning off the need to be seen. I was stripping away the desire for instant results. I was melting down the parts of you that still depended on outcomes to validate identity. Because what I'm about to place on your life cannot be carried by someone who craves comfort more than consecration. This isn't a light calling. This is a holy mantle. And I had to ensure that when I placed it on your shoulders, you wouldn't collapse under the weight. You were never being punished. You were being positioned. You weren't being silenced. You were being set apart. Now, the silence has done its work. The fire has finished its refining. And I say to you, rise. The promotion I've prepared is not a platform. It is a posture of deeper authority. You will walk into rooms and atmospheres will shift, not because of charisma, but because of what I've burned into your bones in the secret place. You will speak and healing will flow, not because of eloquence, but because your words will carry the residue of silence transformed into power. You will walk through doors that others tried to force open but remained closed, and they will open for you, not because you knocked louder, but because you waited better. I am exalting the one who did rush the silence. I'm promoting the one who stayed when I wasn't explaining. You passed the refining, beloved. And now, watch what I do with the one who didn't walk away when it got quiet. Child, there were moments when what I placed in your hands felt so small. The opportunity seemed insignificant. The assignment felt hidden. The influence, limited. And yet you show up. You honored what I gave you even when it didn't look impressive to others. You didn't despise the day of small beginnings. You didn't compare your seed to someone else's harvest. You carried the assignment with care, with purity, with a fierce commitment to excellence even when there was no one to applaud. That kind of faithfulness does not go unnoticed and speaks to me. It tells me that I can trust you, not just with increase, but with integrity. Not just with visibility, but with vision. You prove it, not to the world, but to me, that your obedience isn't contingent on the size of the stage. Your faithfulness isn't dependent on who's watching. You showed me that your yes is just as loud in silence as it would be in celebration. And now, I will respond, not with a pat on the back, but with a door no man can close. I am shifting the weight of your assignment. I am enlarging the place of your tent. Because I trust you. You handled little like it was much, and now I will give you much that you will steward like it's sacred. You never treated the small as beneath you, so now I will lift you into places that require great responsibility and even greater purity. This next level of authority I am handing you is not a reward. It is a response. A response to every unseen yes. A response to the way you led even when no one followed. A response to the way you loved those who had no platform to offer you in return. You cultivated fruit in a place where few were willing to plant. You built where others walked away. You stayed when others scoffed at the size. And now, I will multiply what was overlooked. But I need you to understand something very holy. This increase is not about proving yourself. It's not about proving your critics wrong or your worth right. It's about revealing my heart to the world through someone who has proven they can carry it. That's what I see in you. Someone who can carry my glory, not just speak of it. Someone who can steward influence, not chase it. Someone who doesn't use people to build platforms but uses platforms to build people. This is what you were formed for. This is why the small seasons were so sacred. Because in them, you became someone who doesn't just manage success. You magnify surrender. And child, that's who I elevate. You were faithful with little. Now I will trust you with much. And heaven has already begun the shift. Let me show you a mystery now, one many never discern. When I test, I do not test to expose weakness. I test to reveal readiness. The trials that came, the moments that felt like unraveling, they weren't designed to shame you. They were crafted to search the deep places, the hidden places, the quiet rooms of your soul where only I dwell. I wasn't testing what others could see. I was testing what they couldn't. I was looking into motives, not just motion. Into foundation, not just form. And what I found in you, beloved, was rare. It was untainted by agenda. It was untouched by performance. It was pure. Not because you were perfect, but because you gave me permission to purify. You let me in. You didn't hide the broken pieces. You didn't mask the flaws. You said, "Search me, Lord," and I did, and I found a heart that still chose me, even when everything else made more sense. That's what set you apart. Not a flawless journey, but a faithful one. Not pristine perfection, but persistent pursuit. I saw the way you came to me even when you were unsure of how I'd respond. I saw the way you kept your heart soft when bitterness tried to harden it. I saw the way you chose repentance over reputation. These are the invisible victories that shift nations. These are the moments heaven records. You were tested in secret, but the proof is about to be seen. Because I don't just test to reveal what is, I test to prepare what's coming. And what is coming, child, is heavier than you know. It's more beautiful than you've imagined. But it requires clean hands and a pure heart. It requires depth, not just desire. And that is what you now carry. You didn't reach this place by accident. You didn't stumble into it by luck. You've been proven. And not by the world's systems, by heaven's standards. I have tested what religion cannot fake. I have weighed what charisma cannot mask. I have searched what gifting cannot substitute. And now I call you rare. I call you ready. I call you trustworthy. Because in the secret space, in the silence, in the testing, you chose me again and again. And now, I choose to reveal what I've hidden inside you all along. Authority, anointing, and access. What I am about to do through you won't just be seen. It will be felt. And when others wonder where it came from, you'll know it came from the tests they never saw and the yes they never heard. You passed, my child. And what I found in you was gold. Child, when the fire came, it didn't come with explanation. It didn't arrive with warning. It blazed through your plans, melted your timelines, and disrupted your understanding of how things were supposed to unfold. And in the heat of that fire, you asked me, again and again, why? But listen to me now, not from a distance but from the flame itself. That fire wasn't meant to consume you. It was sent to mark you. I didn't send it to destroy your life. I allowed it to reveal the treasure within you. You see, fire doesn't create gold. It reveals it. The dross rises. The unnecessary burns. And what remains is what I always saw in you. Pure. Refined. Holy. Set apart. The kind of glory that only comes through heat. That's what you carry now. The fragrance of fire and the evidence of endurance. You didn't run from the flame, even when everything inside of you begged to escape. You stayed. You stood still. You let it touch your fear, your pride, your insecurities, your image. You didn't just pass through the fire, you surrendered to its purpose. And that's what few ever do. Most look for escape. You looked for me. Most ask for relief. You asked for revelation. And beloved, I gave it. Not all at once, but line by line. In the shaking, in the breaking, in the holy disorientation of everything familiar being stripped away. The fire burned what could not stay. And now, what remains is rare. What remains is real. What remains is ready. You passed the flame not because you were strong, but because you were surrendered. And now, the flame has passed through you too, leaving behind a purity that the world cannot replicate and hell cannot counterfeit. You will notice something changing now. People will start to see something different in you, though they won't be able to name it. That's because what you carry now is spiritual, not staged. It's holy, not hype. It's deep, not loud. It's the mark of one who has been in the fire and didn't flinch. The weight you carry in the spirit has been forged through real pain, real surrender, real silence. And now, you walk not just with passion, but with presence. Not just with vision, but with fire-tested voice. That's what makes you a threat, not to people, but to principalities. You don't just know about me. You've been with me in the flame, and that distinguishes you. Others will wonder how, why, when. But you'll know it was the fire, and you passed through it not alone, but with me. And now, the fire will announce you. Let's talk now about those moments that only you and I remember. The nights when your chest tightened and your breath came in short bursts, and all you could do was weep. Not because you were weak, but because the pain was too much to speak. The ache didn't have a name. The burden felt too heavy to describe. And so you cried, not to be seen, not to be noticed, not to gain pity, but because your soul had reached its limit. And child, I want you to hear me clearly. I was there, not just observing. I was leaning in. I was catching every tear, recording every drop, interpreting every groan of your spirit as worship. Yes, worship. Because when you cry and still call me faithful, that is worship in its rawest form. The world doesn't honor tears. It celebrates composure, control, image. But I honor tears that flow from a surrendered heart. Not every battle ends in shouting. Some of the fiercest victories are fought in silence, with salty streams on cheeks and a whisper of "Help me, God." And that's what you did. You didn't pretend. You didn't fake strength. You collapsed into me, not away from me. And that collapse was holy. It said more to me than 1,000 declarations. Because tears have tongues. They speak when words can't. And every single one of yours was heard. Every single one was held. Every one became a seed, a liquid prayer that is now blooming into breakthrough. You didn't collapse in defeat. You collapsed in surrender. And that collapse was the exact moment your victory began. So don't ever be ashamed of how you made it through. Don't diminish the depth of your tears by comparing them to someone else's triumph. What you went through was not ordinary. And how you endured it, even with tear-streaked eyes and trembling hands, was heaven-worthy. I'm not looking for polished saints. I'm looking for honest children. And you, beloved, were honest. You showed up in pieces. You offered me the fragments. And I gathered everyone. You passed, not because you performed perfectly, but because you fell into my arms when everything else failed. And now, the tears that watered your wilderness will become the rivers that nourish your next season. I counted them. I honored them. And I am answering them. My child, do you remember how the unseen whispered to you during those nights when every star seemed dim? Do you remember the things I placed inside you? Words, ifs, promises that you couldn't share, couldn't explain, couldn't justify. You held on to them anyway, even when hope felt like a rumor at midnight. You cherished them in faith, like precious seeds nestled in soil no one else saw. That hold of yours, that invisible anchor of faith, did more than secure you. It set the stage for revelation. I am sending a tidal wave of unveiling, not because the unseen has changed it, but because what you held is ready to become what you steer. The things you thought nobody noticed, the gifts you believe nobody understood. Now I'm aligning stakeholders and orchestrating settings where they'll be recognized, redeemed, and released. The unseen remains unseen no longer. You carried sacred treasures in silent groans. You nurtured them through seasons none could name. And now, you're stepping into places where those treasures will be revealed with clarity, power, and purpose. Don't be surprised when what was once your private whisper becomes public proclamation. Don't be shaken when the hidden miracle in your heart is displayed like a banner over a battlefield. That has always been my intention. You held on to the unseen and, beloved, I promise you, I'm about to unveil it for such a time as this. What looked like quiet waiting is now becoming resounding worship. What felt like hidden faith is about to ignite a harvest. The treasures of your soul will no longer sit in vaults. They will vault you into destiny. Yes, the unseen has now been revealed, but not just for you. I am calling you to be part of revealing it for others. What you have received is light, and light is meant to be carried to cities, to nations, to hearts still wrapped in shadow. Through your support, you don't just give, you ignite. You become a carrier of my word to places you will never walk, but your seed will. How beautiful are the feet of those who bring good news. I speak over you now from Romans 10:15. This is your divine moment to send that good news further, through super thanks, membership, or the PayPal link below. I will bless what you give. I will multiply it, protect it, and return it in waves of favor. Move now. Be the miracle someone is praying for. Beloved child, pressure is not always about pushing back. Sometimes, pressure is my forge. You were underweight, not to bend you irreversibly, but to break off the things that would hinder you from carrying what I was forming inside. I pressed you not to punish but to purify. I allowed tension to surround you, not to discourage you, but to distinguish you. Not everyone can endure what you have surmounted. Not everyone is meant to. But you, you held on to me when everything fell away. That is what separates the called from the chosen, the courage to stand in flame when no audience applauds. The choice to stay in sanctity when circumstances scream you out. You passed through a pressure not everyone would survive, and that qualifies you, not for limitation, but for elevation. Understand this. I do not release power to those who chase approval. I entrust authority to those who survive abandonment. Your survival wasn't just personal, it's prophetic. You weren't meant to join a movement. You were meant to be the movement. Your endurance has activated the next era, not just for you, but for others you'll carry. Pressure revealed what was inside: humility, faith, purity, resilience. That's not coincidence. That's my design. That pressure separated the called, you who heard the voice, from the chosen, you who held the voice when no one else spoke. And now, having proved yourself through pressure, favor is aligning behind you, access is rearranging before you, and destiny is declaring itself above you. Beloved, let's return for a moment to the places that left you wounded. The relationships that cut you, the betrayals that blindsided you, the people who took from you and gave nothing in return. I watched it all. I saw your hands extended even while your heart was breaking. I saw you forgive while your voice trembled with unshed tears. I watched you offer kindness with bandaged faith, give comfort with bruised hope, and speak life while your soul bled silently. This, child, this is the kind of love that marks eternity. You didn't just survive offense. You transcended it. You responded not with what you felt, but with who I am. You loved like me. You loved when it cost everything. And in doing so, you passed a test few even recognize exists. The world calls it weakness. I call it warfare. Every act of love from a bleeding heart is a sword in the spirit. Every time you chose compassion over retaliation, you shattered cycles. Every time you blessed instead of cursed, you broke generational patterns. And I recorded it. Not with pen and ink, but with fire. Your love had been immortalized in heaven's archive. Not one moment of mercy was missed. I saw you choose grace when justice would have made sense. I saw you serve those who misjudged you, pray for those who wounded you, and hope for those who never apologized. This is not the love of convenience. This is the love of covenant. A love that mirrors my Son. The love that echoes Calvary. And I will reward it. Don't think your tears over them were wasted. Don't imagine your gentleness was unnoticed. When you chose to love while bleeding, you aligned yourself with heaven's highest call. And now, I'm pouring honor where there was once heartache. I'm releasing restoration for every place you sowed in sorrow. You didn't just pass a test, you wrote a legacy. And your legacy will not be one of bitterness but of blazing mercy. I'm raising you not as one who barely survived, but as one who fiercely loved and therefore overcame. Your love, soaked in pain, sanctified by choice, and sealed with humility, it has become your crown. And now, child, I will display it before the ones who thought you were broken beyond use. What they didn't understand I'm about to reveal. My child, I know what you've prayed for. I know the blessings you've waited on. I've heard your cries for breakthrough, for healing, for doors to open wide. And yes, those things are coming. But let me whisper something holy into your spirit now. The true reward of your passing is not just what I give you. It's what I can now entrust to you. The reward is not merely increase. It is stewardship. It is authority wrapped in weight. Favor married to responsibility. And you, beloved, are ready for both. You've shown me not just that you can receive, but that you can carry. You're not asking me to pour out simply to impress others, but to impact them. And that heart, that motive has made you ready. You see, many want my blessings, but few are prepared for the responsibility those blessings require. When I bless, I do so with legacy in mind. I'm not just pouring out so you can enjoy. I'm positioning you so others can encounter me through you. I've been waiting for this alignment, and now I see it. Your hands are not just open for provision. They are open for assignment. Your heart is not just hungry for more. It's surrendered to serve. You've graduated. You've shifted. This is not about being elevated to a place of ease. It's being elevated to a place of impact. And because I now know I can trust you with weight, I will release what I withheld from others who lack the heart to steward it well. The blessings will come, yes, in abundance, overflow. But more than that, I will clothe you in responsibility that transforms regions. I will give you strategy that shifts atmospheres. I will entrust you with people, with territory, with insight, with authority. Because you passed the tests that prove you can lead with love, not ego. With purity, not platform. With vision, not vanity. This is your charge now. Carry what I give you with reverence. With fire. With holiness. Because what I am placing on you is not light, but neither is your calling. And child, you are ready. You didn't just pray for promotion. You became prepared for it. And now, heaven moves. There were seasons, child, when it felt like the world had passed you by. When it seemed your gifts were unseen, your heart unheard, your faith unacknowledged. You questioned, not in bitterness but in weariness. God, do you see me? Am I forgotten here in the hidden place? And I want to answer you now, clearly, loudly, lovingly. No, you were not forgotten. You were hidden. Hidden in my hand. Hidden beneath my wing. Hidden not to be dismissed but to be developed. You see, invisibility was never a punishment. It was a preservation. I concealed you while I refined you. I shielded you while I shaped you. I placed my glory around you like a cocoon around destiny and process. Because what I'm releasing now couldn't survive premature exposure. I was building something weighty inside of you. And now, child, the season of hiddenness is breaking open like the dawn. You will no longer have to explain yourself. I will announce what I've placed on you. You will no longer have to fight for a place at the table. I am preparing a table in the presence of everything that told you to sit down and stay small. You are not invisible. You are undeniable. What they couldn't see in you before, now they won't be able to ignore. Not because of your force, but because of your fire. Not because of your performance, but because of my presence. I've placed my signature on your spirit. I've crowned you with weight that cannot be imitated. This moment is not about stepping into visibility for ego. It's about stepping into visibility for impact. Because I have people connected to your voice. I have regions tied to your obedience. And now, I'm releasing you like a wave that's been waiting for the exact right moment to crash onto the shore of your assignment. But hear me, child, the visibility I'm giving you isn't for applause. It's for assignment. I'm not making you undeniable for popularity. I'm doing it for purpose. Because what I've planted in you is ripe, and what you've nurtured in secret is now ready to bear fruit publicly. You're not just stepping into a season where people see you. You're stepping into a season where they will see me through you. Every delay prepared you. Every invisible chapter equipped you. And now, I say to the world around you, behold, the one who was faithful in the shadows. Behold, the one I have chosen. Behold, the one who passed. Beloved, let me uncover something sacred now, something that will make everything make sense. There were moments you thought I was late, moments you assumed the delay was me holding out on you. But I never withheld from you out of neglect. I waited out of necessity. Because the calling on your life wasn't ordinary. It was weighty, specific, generational. It required more than excitement. It required maturity. I wasn't stalling your blessing. I was strengthening your capacity. You asked me for open doors. I said yes. But I had to grow the version of you who could walk through those doors and stay there. I had to mature your character to match your crown. Because I will never give my glory to someone who will crumble beneath it. And child, the waiting didn't mean I wasn't working. It meant I was doing my deepest work in the soil of your soul. You see, destiny doesn't run on earthly timelines. It runs on eternal preparation. And every delay was divine. I allowed the waiting so you could outgrow the mindsets that would sabotage your next season. I allowed the silence so you could stop measuring your worth by movement and start measuring it by intimacy. You didn't realize it, but every time you chose to worship in the waiting room, you were growing. Every time you surrendered your timeline, heaven was aligning your path. Every tear cried in confusion became water for the soil of maturity. And now the ground is ready. The root system is deep. You're not who you were when you first asked. You've become someone who can carry not just blessing, but burden. Not just opportunity, but oil. This is what the wait was for. It wasn't wasted time, it was a sacred stretching. I wasn't trying to see how long you could hold on. I was forming the version of you that wouldn't just touch destiny, but sustain it. And now, your maturity has caught up with your mantle. What I whispered over you in childhood is about to manifest before your eyes. What I anointed you for long ago is about to be activated in full. You're not walking into this season immature, unstable, or unsure. You're walking in rooted, refined, and ready. You're not guessing anymore. You're grounded. And now that you've passed the test of maturity, I'm releasing the manifestation. Not because I finally decided to move, but because you finally became the one I always saw within you. My precious one, let me take you back to your most sacred ache. I've seen the nights when your heart cried out, not only in pain but in praise. You were wounded, cut deeper than words, but still, when every part of you longed to turn away, your lips found my name. The wounds that threatened to uproot your trust instead became surrender's anchor. And in that paradox, worship was born. It wasn't born in your strength. It was born in your surrender. While the world expected you to walk away because of the hurt, you walked with wounds. And yet, you didn't walk away from me. That faith that is rare, that love that is redemptive, and I am honoring it. The path you've traveled has not been easy. Each step bore scars, some seen, most unseen. But in every step, you chose to stay close, not distant. That choice made all those scars holy. Worship doesn't always sound grand. Sometimes it's a trembling prayer in the dark. Sometimes it's a bowed head after a betrayal. But that is what I honor. I honor your heart's yes, even when it cracked under pressure. I honor the broken melodies you offered me when you had no words left. I saw how you held onto me when the wounds tempted you to let go. And in that holding, your faith was made stronger than fear. Your worship became louder than pain. And now, child, look at what I am doing. I am turning your wounded worship into your weapon. Every tear, every lament, every trembling melody is becoming fuel for the next season. I am not just healing you. I am bringing forth the fragrance of victory through you. You waited with worship. You walked through the fire with wounds, and you refused to let go of me. That covenantal grip is what positions you for miracles, momentum, and mantle. And beloved, what you held in your pain is now carrying you into your promise. My child, the waiting, you perceived it as delay. The silence, you felt it as desert. But let me show you what it truly was, preparation. Postponement. Because in my kingdom, timing is not when things happen, it's how they come to pass. Your reward didn't get lost in the delay. It was reserved, set apart, carefully held in my presence for the moment your spirit was ready to carry it. While you felt stuck, I was stoking the embers of destiny. The treasures of your next season were being reserved exclusively for this hour. That waiting was my whisper preparing your heart for resonance with the reward. I wasn't slow. I was sovereign. I wasn't ignoring you. I was equipping everything to shift in alignment with your maturity and surrender. Each delay wasn't wasted. It was where my faithfulness was engraved deeper into your spirit. Your reward has always been intended, always been held, always been sacredly conserved. And now, the day of its unveiling has come. It's not arriving late. It's entering according to my plan, and that plan is irrevocably perfect. Now move forward with confidence, beloved. Your breakthrough isn't late. It's arriving perfectly timed because it was reserved for this precise moment, lined with every tear, every waiting night, every whispered faith-filled prayer. What you've been longing for was being layered into your reward all along. And now it is manifesting. Child, the denials, yes, I know they stung. The no's that came without warning. The doors that slammed shut after you knocked with trembling faith. The opportunities that disappeared just when you thought breakthrough was near. You asked me why, Lord. And now, I answer, it wasn't rejection. It was redirection. Every denial was a divine reroute, not a divine rejection. I blocked what looked good so I can protect what is gone. I withheld what would have fed your ego and delayed your becoming. Because what I'm doing in you required me to separate you from anything that would compromise your future. But hear me now, those denials are being reversed. Not by the hands of man, but by the decree of heaven. I am speaking yes where you once heard no. I am commanding access where you once saw opposition. This reversal is not random. It's a result of your surrender. A result of your refusal to grow bitter when misunderstood. A result of your faithfulness when you could have walked away. The enemy said the denial was final. But I say this, it was a pause, not a period. And now I am resurrecting the things that looked dead. I'm reactivating the promise. I'm restoring time. I'm redeeming territory. What was denied to you in one season is being released to you in double now. You will see the hand of the Lord override every earthly gate that tried to contain you. What was delayed is now being delivered, pressed down, shaken together, running over. Because you didn't fold in frustration. You stood in faith. And that faith has opened heaven's vault. Watch now as people, places, and paths begin to respond differently to you. Don't be surprised when doors swing open with ease. Don't second-guess the sudden favor. It's not coincidence. His covenant. The things that were withheld are returning, but this time, under my order, my alignment, and my fire. No longer will your name be associated with closed. I have rewritten your access. What was once denied has now been divinely reversed. And this time, no man, no demon, no system can stop what I've spoken. Let me say this with gravity, child. You endured what many could not. You bore a weight that would have crushed others. You walked through seasons that broke stronger men. You didn't just survive. You stayed surrendered. You didn't just keep going. You kept believing. There were battles that offered you the easy out. There were storms that offered you the logical excuse to walk away. But you stayed. You endured. Not perfectly, but persistently. And that kind of endurance is not common. That kind of resilience isn't manufactured by willpower. It's formed in intimacy. Formed in the secret places where you met me, even when nothing made sense. The pain that should have paralyzed you became your proving ground. The warfare that should have silenced you became your worship. And now, child, I declare this over you. I will raise you up as evidence. Evidence that endurance is never wasted. Evidence that perseverance is not forgotten. You will be proof to others that holding on to me through the chaos is never in vain. You're not just entering a season of reward. You're becoming a sign. A sign to the weary. A sign to the broken. A living declaration that faith can outlast fire, that surrender can overcome storms, that worship can win wars. So rise, my beloved. This next elevation isn't just about increase, it's about impact. You passed what others fainted under. Now I'm breathing fresh wind into your lungs. I'm commanding strength to return. I'm unlocking doors that have waited for this version of you, the proven one, the tested one, the unshakable one. The evidence is here. You are it. And heaven is echoing your name into the earth as one who did not faint, one who passed, one who endured and overcame. Come closer, child, closer than ever before. Let me place my hand on your head and speak this final word into the deepest place in you. You are no longer simply the one who endured. You are now the one I will use as evidence. When others question whether the pain was worth it, I will point to you. When they ask if faith still matters in a world drowning in compromise, I will point to you. When they wonder if obedience still moves heaven, I will lift your story like a banner and say, this one proves it. You didn't just pass a test, you became a testimony. You didn't just survive trials, you've been forged into a sign. And the sign says this: God is faithful. Endurance wins. Obedience is never wasted. Your life, beloved, has become a living altar. Not because everything went right, but because you kept offering me your yes even when everything went wrong. Your sacrifice became incense. Your surrender became fragrance. Your obedience became oil. And now I am anointing you, not with hype, but with holy fire. You've been hidden. You've been crushed. You've been refined. And now I will display you as proof. Not for attention, but for impact. Not for applause, but for alignment. I have marked you as a voice to this generation, not because of eloquence, but because of endurance. The kind of endurance that only comes from wrestling in the secret place and not letting go. So arise. Not as one merely favored, but as one forged. Your eyes as one set apart. Your eyes as one who will carry my word with weight and my love with power. Rise as one who walks with scars and still lays hands on the sick. Rise as one who stood when it made no sense, who prayed when the answers didn't come, who stayed pure when compromise whispered. You are not just my child. You are my evidence. You are my echo in the earth. And through you I will remind the weary, the waiting, the wounded, that I do not forget. I do not lie. I do not abandon. I fulfill. I finish. I reward. And yes, I raise up those who pass. And evidence, my child, does not remain still. It speaks. It spreads. It multiplies. You are the proof that endurance bears fruit, and now I invite you to help that fruit reach others. Through your support, you are not tipping an effort. You are fueling a fire. You are extending the reach of my word to souls waiting to hear what you've just heard. Those who sow with tears will reap with joy. I declare over you from Psalm 126:5. And you have sown in endurance. Now, sow in mission. Support this divine work through Super Thanks membership, or the PayPal link below. Do it boldly. Do it now. Become the echo of this evidence across the earth. And now, child, before you go, I want you to mark this moment in faith. You passed what few even perceive, and I want you to declare it boldly. In the comments, write these words: I passed. I am evidence. This is not just a statement. It's a seal. A prophetic act that tells heaven you've heard, you've endured, and you are ready to be revealed. Don't scroll past. Don't stay silent. Speak it, type it, release it, because the moment you declare it, the atmosphere around you begins to shift. And as you declare it, come here, my child. Let us speak of the things no one else has seen. I want you to close your eyes for a moment. Just for a moment. Feel the weight on your shoulders, the tightness in your chest. Do you feel that knot in your stomach when you think about tomorrow? That is not from me. Let's undo it together. I saw you. I was there in those moments you felt completely invisible, when you thought your fight was yours alone. I saw the battles you fought in the quiet of your own mind, right there at your desk, when the pressure from your job felt like a physical weight, and the fear of failure whispered that you were not enough. I was there in your car when you held the steering wheel so tightly, trying to hold your life together, fighting back tears before you walked into your home. I saw you at the family table, smiling on the outside while your heart was breaking from the unspoken tensions, the distance you feel from those you love most. You felt overlooked, passed over, unseen. But I saw you. I saw every single moment. And I heard you. I heard the prayers you thought were too weak, too broken to ever reach me. I heard that desperate whisper in the dead of night, when the only sound was your own breathing and you pleaded, God, are you even there? Please help me. You thought that was a prayer of doubt, but I heard it as a prayer of profound faith. The faith to call out into the silence, believing someone was listening. I heard you when you cried out for your children, for your finances, for a peace that felt so impossibly far away. Those prayers, my beloved, were never lost in the noise of the world. They came directly to me, and I have held each one in my heart. I counted your tears, you know. Every single one that fell upon your pillow when the house was asleep and the loneliness was your only companion. I know the story behind each tear. I saw the one that fell for the dream you thought had died. I saw the one that fell from the sting of a harsh word from someone you love. I saw the tears of sheer exhaustion, when you felt you could not take one more step. You thought you were crying alone, but you were not. I was there, gathering every tear, not as a record of your pain, but as a promise of the joy and restoration I am bringing into your life. They have been precious to me. And my child, I witnessed your integrity. Note how I saw it. I was there in that moment of decision, the one no one else knew about, where a small compromise, a tiny lie, would have made everything so much easier. The world would have called it smart, even necessary. But you stood there, in that unseen place, and you chose the harder path. You chose truth. You chose to honor me when no one was looking. Do you understand the magnitude of that choice? In that moment, all of heaven stood still to watch. You were not choosing between right and wrong. You were choosing between the world's way and my way. And you chose me. That act of quiet courage was a thunderous victory in the spiritual realm. I honored the choice you made to trust me in that suffocating silence, when every instinct screamed for you to save yourself. You waited for me. You believed in me. So listen to my voice now, directly in your heart. Know this: your hidden faithfulness, every unseen battle, every whispered prayer, every silent tear, every brave choice for integrity, it has all reached my throne. It has risen before me as a sweet and pleasing aroma, a fragrance so rare and beautiful. You have passed a test that only a few are willing to endure. You did not give up. You did not break. And for that, I am so incredibly proud of you. You must understand, my precious one, that the trials you faced were never meant to prove your weakness to me. I already know every part of you. The tests were designed to reveal my strength in you, to show you what I have placed on the inside of you. You stood before giants. You remember? The giant of a medical report with words you couldn't pronounce, that tried to fill your future with fear. The giant of that sudden job loss, that letter that tried to tell you that your value was gone. The giant of betrayal, that friend who walked away, leaving a gaping hole where trust used to be. These giants roared, they postured, they did everything in their power to make you feel small and helpless. And in your hand, you held only a small, simple stone. That stone was my word. It was that one promise you clung to when every other voice was screaming lies. While others around you built walls of logic and reason, stockpiling their own resources, you held on to that simple, smooth stone of my promise. You trusted it was enough. Your faith, my child, was placed in the refining fire. Do not think of this fire as some distant, poetic idea. It was the heat of that argument that left you shaking. It was the burning shame of a past mistake. It was the feverish nights spent worrying about your family's future. The fire was real, and you felt its scorching heat. You felt it trying to consume you, to turn you into ash. But look at yourself now. Pause and look. You have come through. The impurities, the pride that said I can do this on my own, the fear that whispered God has forgotten me, the impatience that demanded I need it now, they have been burned away. And what remains is pure, radiant gold. The quiet confidence, the gentle strength, the unshakable peace that now settles in your heart, that is the gold I have brought forth. It shines with a light that can only come from me. So many people in this world walk by sight. They chase what they can see, what makes sense, what feels secure. It is the easier path, the crowded path. They follow the market trends, the popular opinions, the logical next steps. But you chose something far more difficult and far more rare. You chose to walk by a faith in what you could not see. You stood on the edge of a cliff, and when I whispered jump, you closed your eyes and trusted I would catch you. You gave when your own bank account was low. You forgave when your heart was screaming for justice. You hoped when all evidence pointed to despair. You believed in the promise of rain even when the sky was clear and brassy. You believed in the sunrise while you were still surrounded by the deepest midnight. This steadfastness, this rugged, beautiful, defiant faith, is a jewel of immeasurable worth. It is a rare gem that I have taken with my own hands, and I have set it as the centerpiece in the crown I have prepared for you. You have shown me, and you have shown the heavens, what it means to truly trust your God. For so long, you were assaulted by the whispers of your past. They came to you in the quiet moments, usually in the dead of night, replaying your failures on a loop in your mind. The voice of the accuser is relentless, is he not? He sought to chain you to your worst moments, to convince you that your identity was defined by your mistakes. He reminded you of that broken relationship, of the poor decision you made in a moment of weakness, of the words you wish you could take back. He wanted you to wear your shame like a heavy cloak, to walk with your head down, convinced you were disqualified from my love and my purpose. He wanted you to be so weighed down by guilt that you could never run the race I have set before you. But then, a shift began to happen. You started to listen for another voice. My voice. You began the sacred work of distinguishing my whisper of love from his shriek of lies. His voice is always loud, chaotic, panicked, and accusing. It pushes, it condemns, it brings confusion and despair. But my voice is firm, calm, and full of peace, even when I am correcting you. My voice brings clarity, not confusion. It brings hope, not condemnation. It leads you to repentance, not to shame. You started to learn this. When the condemning thought came, you failed again. You are worthless. You paused, and you asked, "Is that my Father's voice?" And deep in your spirit, you began to recognize the truth. No. My Father's voice says, "You are forgiven. You are clean. You are my beloved child, in whom I am well pleased." You started clinging to the truth of your redemption, the truth that my Son's blood speaks a better word over you than your failure ever could. You made a conscious choice. The enemy held out the cold, scratchy rags of your old guilt, and for a long time, you wore them. But then you saw the robe I was holding out for you, the pure white robe of righteousness, purchased for you on the cross. And you chose to take off the rags and wear the robe. You chose to believe what I say about you over what the enemy, or even what your own feelings, say about you. This was not a one-time decision. It was a daily battle you fought and won. This victory, this triumph over the voice of condemnation, has unlocked a new and profound level of freedom in your spirit. The chains of shame have been shattered. The weight is gone. You are no longer a prisoner of your past. Now, you stand before me, not as the accused, but as my child. You stand not in shame, but in grace. You stand as a beloved, cherished, and empowered child of the King. Walk in that freedom, for it is your birthright. My beloved, I brought you into the school of patience, a classroom where many enroll but few are willing to graduate. You see, the world teaches you to demand everything instantly. It screams for faster service, immediate results, overnight success. But my kingdom operates on a different rhythm, a sacred rhythm of waiting, of sowing, of nurturing, and then, in the fullness of time, of reaping. And I have been teaching you this rhythm. I saw your restlessness. I saw the frustration in your heart as you waited for a promise to be fulfilled. You endured the long, agonizing season of not yet, the time when your prayers seemed to bounce off the ceiling and your circumstances remained stubbornly unchanged. This was one of your most difficult lessons. So many others in this season run ahead of me. They get tired of waiting and take matters into their own hands, trying to force open doors that I have kept closed for their own protection. They create their own solutions, only to find them fall apart. Others lag behind. They become so disillusioned and bitter in the waiting that when the blessing finally arrives, their hearts are too hard to receive it. But you, my child, you did something different. Your patience was not passive resignation. It was not you giving up hope. No, your patience was an active, hope-filled trust in my sovereignty. It was you waking up every single morning, looking at your unchanging situation, and declaring, "My God's timing is perfect. I will trust Him today." You did not run ahead in panic, and you did not fall behind in despair. You chose to walk in step with me, even when my pace was slower than you wanted. This process has cultivated something deep and powerful within your spirit. It has forged in you a spirit of endurance that cannot be shaken by delays or detours. You have learned that my silence is not my absence. You have learned that my delay is not my denial. You understand now that while you were waiting, I was working. I was arranging circumstances you could not see. I was preparing the hearts of people you had not yet met. Most importantly, I was preparing you. Now, you are ready for blessings that would have completely overwhelmed you before. Had I given you that promotion a year ago, your character was not ready for the pressure. Had I brought that relationship into your life sooner, your insecurities would have sabotaged it. Had I given you that influence earlier, your pride would have corrupted it. Awaiting was not a punishment, my child. Awaiting was my mercy. Awaiting was my wisdom. And now, because you have graduated from the school of patience, you are ready to receive, with grace and wisdom, the very things you have been waiting for. My child, wait. Do not turn away now. We have just spoken of the fire and the forging, the pressure and the pain. It would grieve my heart for you to endure the difficult process of being shaped, only to walk away before I reveal the glorious purpose for which I have made you. Stay here with me. The reason for your new character is about to be unveiled. Think of me as a master sculptor, and your life as the precious stone I am shaping. The pressures you face, the situations that squeeze you until you thought you would break, those were my tools. They were never random acts of a cruel world. They were intentional, purposeful instruments in my hands, designed to shape you into the glorious image of my Son. Every trial you endured was like a chisel, carefully carving away the pieces of your life that did not look like me. The difficult person at work I used to chip away at your impatience. That financial struggle I used to carve away your self-reliance and fear. That season of loneliness I used to remove the pride that kept you from depending on me completely. It was often painful, I know. But you did not see what I was seeing. You felt the sharp edge of the tool, but I saw the masterpiece that was emerging. Through this process, you have developed a resilience of spirit that the world cannot understand and cannot replicate. They see someone who should be broken, bitter, and defeated. Instead, they see someone who is gentle, strong, and full of a quiet hope. They wonder how you can still be kind after being treated so unfairly. They wonder how you can still have peace when your life has been so chaotic. What they are seeing, my child, is the fruit of my work in you. They are seeing a character that is no longer built on the shifting sand of circumstances, emotions, or the opinions of others. Your character is now being built on something eternal, something immovable, the solid rock of ages, which is me. The storms came, the winds blew, the floods rose, and your house did not fall, because it is founded on the rock. This is the great difference I want you to see. Many people are believers. They agree with my existence. They may even come to me in times of trouble. But you, my child, have passed a critical test. You have moved from being merely a believer to becoming a true disciple. A disciple is one who is disciplined, one who allows their entire life to be reformed by their teacher. You have allowed my hand to discipline you, to mold you, to change you from the inside out. Do not ever underestimate the value of what hath been forged inside of you. Your degrees, your job title, your bank account, these things are fleeting. But this inner fortitude, this unshakable character, This is your true spiritual wealth. This is the currency of my kingdom. It is the one thing you have built on earth that you will carry with you into eternity. And it is more beautiful than you can possibly imagine. You felt so alone in the valley, didn't you? In that season of grief, of loss, of profound darkness, it seemed as if I was a million miles away. You stood on the mountaintops before, where the sun was bright and my voice was clear, and you thought that was where I live. But it was in the valley, in the place of shadows and echoes, that I drew closest to you. You could not see me, but I had my arms wrapped around you the entire time. I was teaching you a vital lesson, one that can only be learned in the low places. My presence is not just for the peaks. It is perfected in the depths. In the valley, the blinding light of your own success and strength is gone. The noise of the cheering crowds fades away. It is there, in the profound quiet and the deep shadows, that you learn to see and hear me in a new way. You learn that my love is not a feeling that comes and goes with the sunshine. It is a foundational reality, a consuming fire that burns brightest when all other lights have gone out. The darkness of your circumstance became the perfect backdrop for you to see the brilliance of my faithfulness. It was there, when you had nothing else to hold on to, that you truly discovered that I was holding on to you. It was in the valley that I proved myself to you not just as your God, but as your shepherd. When you were too weak to walk, my staff was your support. When you were tempted to stray onto a dangerous path, my rod was your protection. When you could not see the way forward, my voice was your guide. Because of this, you now carry something powerful within you. You carry the testimony of the valley. You can now speak with an authority that cannot be learned in a book. When you meet someone else who is walking through their own valley of despair, you will not offer them empty platitudes. You will offer them the solid hope of your own experience. You can look them in the eye and say with absolute certainty, I know it feels like you are alone, but He is there. I know you cannot see a way out, but He is the way. Your greatest pain has become the source of your greatest ministry. You no longer fear the low places. You no longer dread the seasons of shadow. For you know, with a certainty that has been forged in fire, that the valley is not a place of abandonment. It is the place of my most intimate presence. You know that I am with you, always. My child, I must now speak of the deepest wound, the one that was not caused by circumstance or failure, but by the hand of another. You were wounded by those you trusted, a pain sharper and more bitter than any physical sword. I was there in the moment you read that text message, the one that confirmed your trust had been shattered. I was present when those words were spoken over you by a family member, words that should have been a blessing but instead landed like stones, intended to crush your spirit. I saw the actions of a friend you love, a betrayal that felt so personal it tried to poison your very ability to love again. The world gives you every reason, every right, to hold on to that bitterness. It tells you to build a wall around your heart, to hold that grudge like a shield, to seek justice, to demand an apology, to make them pay for the pain they caused. For a long time, you felt that pull. You spent sleepless nights replaying their words, their actions, imagining the conversations where you would finally tell them how deeply they hurt you. That bitterness was a root, and you could feel it trying to grow in the soil of your heart, seeking to choke out every good thing I had planted there. You felt its poison, the way it stole your peace and clouded your joy. Then, you were faced with one of the most difficult commands I will ever give a human heart. You had to forgive. It felt impossible, unfair. Forgiveness, you thought, was for them. It was about letting them off the hook, pretending the wound wasn't there. But I began to show you the truth. Forgiveness was never about them, my child. It was always about you. Holding on to unforgiveness was like drinking poison and expecting the other person to die. It was like locking them in a prison cell, only to realize you were on the inside of the cell with them. The key to their freedom was also the key to your own. And in a profound act of worship, an act that cost you everything, you chose to turn that key. It was not a feeling. It was a brutal, difficult, tear-stained decision of your will. In the quiet of your heart, you stood before me and said, "For the sake of my love for you, I release them. I give them to you. I will not carry this pain anymore." In that moment you chose to forgive. You allowed my healing grace to rush into the deepest chambers of your own heart. You allowed me to finally clean the wound, to remove the poison of resentment and bitterness that was causing infection in your soul. You chose to mirror the immense grace I have shown you, and this act, though unseen by any other person, was a holy and beautiful act of worship before my throne. Do you understand what you did? You broke a cycle. You shattered a generational curse of resentment that may have been passed down for decades. Where hatred was sown, you planted mercy. Where pain was the inheritance, you declared grace. Because of that choice, your heart is no longer a prison, filled with the ghosts of past hurts. It is now a conduit, an open channel for my restorative love to flow through. You can now love freely, without the constant fear of being hurt again. You can minister to other wounded people, not from a place of theory, but from the authority of your own healed scars. You chose my way, the harder way, and in doing so, you chose your own healing and liberation. The world has taught you to fear being broken. It sees brokenness as the end, as failure, shame, something to be hidden away or discarded. But I see it very differently. My child, listen to me. In my kingdom, brokenness is not a disqualification. It is often the prerequisite for true power. The moments where you felt you were shattered into a million pieces, the collapse of that business you poured your soul into, the painful end of a relationship that was your whole world, the death of a dream you had cherished for years. You looked at the fragments of your life on the floor and saw only ruin. But I looked at those same pieces and saw the raw material for a miracle. I saw the opportunity to rebuild you into something far more beautiful and far more powerful than you ever were before. You spent so much energy trying to hide your cracks, to present a perfect, flawless exterior to the world. But I kept whispering to your heart, "Stop hiding your broken places. Let my light shine through them." A vessel must be cracked for the fragrance inside to fill the room. An alabaster jar of perfume is beautiful on its own, but its purpose is only fulfilled when it is broken open. While you were whole and self-contained, you relied on your own strength, your own resources. You were strong, yes, but your impact was limited to what you could do. But when you were broken, when your own strength failed, when your resources ran out, when you had nothing left to offer, that was the moment you finally became an open channel for my spirit to flow out unhindered. It is through your weaknesses, not just your strengths, that my power is made perfect. It is through the cracks in your heart that my love now pours out to touch a hurting world. Think of your life as a stained glass window. The world may see only the lines where the glass was broken. But when my light shines through you, those lines of brokenness become the very places where the colors are most brilliant and the beauty is most profound. This is why you now possess a unique anointing. Anointing is not a magical feeling. It is the divine authority and empathy that is born from experience. Because you have known the depths of failure, I can anoint you to bring hope to those who feel like failures. Because you have wrestled with anxiety, I can anoint you to bring my peace to the anxious. Because your heart was broken, I can anoint you to bind up the brokenhearted. Your scars are not symbols of your shame. They are testaments to my healing power. They are not reminders of what defeated you. They are maps that show others the way I brought you through. Never be ashamed of them. They give you a credibility that no one with a perfect life could ever possess. The enemy intended for your deepest pain to be the story of your undoing. But I have taken that very same pain, and I am turning it into the platform for your greatest purpose. The very place of your breaking is becoming the source of your greatest breakthrough and your most powerful ministry. Here is a level of trust that goes beyond simple belief, and I have called you into it. It is the test of obedience in the face of uncertainty. It is one of the highest and most profound acts of worship a soul can offer. I have asked you to take steps without showing you the entire staircase. Do you remember? You were standing in the darkness, and all you could see was the very first step, illuminated by a faint light. Your mind, your logic, your every survival instinct screamed with questions. Where does this lead? What if I fall? This makes no logical sense. I asked you to leave that job, the one that was secure and predictable, for a future that was completely unknown. I asked you to pour your love and energy into a relationship that seemed like a lost cause to everyone else. I told you to start that ministry, that business, that project, when you had no resources, no connections, and no clear blueprint for success. You wanted a map, a detailed, 5-year plan. You wanted guarantees. But I did not give you a map. I gave you myself. I was teaching you to depend on the guide, not the plan. I was training you to listen for my voice for the next step, rather than relying on your own understanding for the next 10. This was a battle, and it was waged primarily in your own mind. The world shouted for you to be practical, to be safe, to have a backup plan. Your own fear echoed those shouts. And in the middle of that noise, you heard my gentle whisper, "Trust me. Just take the next step." And in an act of defiant faith, you lifted your foot. You planted it on that first step, having no idea where the second one would be. That, my child, was an act of profound worship. That was you declaring that my wisdom is greater than your own, that my ways are higher than your ways. Do not think I asked for this kind of obedience because I'm arbitrary or secretive. I asked for it to sever the chains of pride and self-reliance that hold my children back. I do it to forge a bond of absolute dependence between us, where you learn that your true security is not in a plan, but in my presence. And because you have been faithful in this, something has shifted in the spiritual realm. Because you were willing to obey a whisper in the unseen, I can now trust you with a declaration in the seen. Because you were faithful in the small, seemingly illogical things, you have qualified yourself for greater and more strategic assignments in my kingdom. You have proven that you are not just a follower of convenience, but one who will follow the Lamb wherever he goes, even when the path is dark and the destination is unknown. This radical obedience has prepared you for a level of partnership with me that few ever experience. In the modern world, everything is shouting for your attention. Your phone buzzes, the news cycles scream with fear and outrage, and the voices of 1,000 opinions demand to be heard. Even in your own soul, there was the constant noise of your own striving, your anxious planning, your relentless worrying. Your prayers, for a long time, were a monologue. You came to me with a long list of requests, problems, and complaints, speaking without ever taking a breath to listen for my reply. But that season of waiting, that time of forced stillness you endured, it became your classroom. It was there that you learned to quiet your soul. It was in the silence, where your own strength and plans had failed, that you finally learned to listen for my whisper. You stopped striving, and you started abiding. You discovered that true wisdom is not found in frantic activity, but in the deep, quiet stillness of my presence. You cultivated an ear for my gentle voice. This is a skill, a spiritual discipline, and you have learned it well. You can now distinguish my voice from the loud gongs of the world and the deceptive whispers of the enemy. You have learned that wisdom is not about having all the answers yourself, but about being intimately connected to the one who is the answer. This divine insight I have given you is a gift more precious than all the silver and gold in the world. It is a treasure that cannot be stolen and will never lose its value. It is this wisdom that will allow you to navigate the complexities of your future with grace and confidence. You will know when to move and when to be still. You will know when to speak and when to remain silent. You will be able to look at a situation that confuses everyone else and see the truth of it, because you are not looking with your own eyes, but with the perspective you have gained by sitting with me. Because of this, you are now equipped to discern truth from deception, the holy from the profane. In a world where values are constantly shifting, your anchor is in my unchanging truth. And now, I have a new assignment for you. You are to be a source of wise counsel for a confused and chaotic generation. People will be drawn to the calm in your spirit. They will come to you, weighed down by the noise of the world, and in your presence, they will find a quiet place. You will not give them your own opinions. You will share with them the wisdom you have learned by listening to me. You will teach them how to quiet their own souls so they too can hear my voice. You will be a voice of calm in the midst of their storm, a beacon of clarity in their confusion, all because you first learned the profound and life-changing lesson of being still and knowing that I am God. My child, we have come to a place of deep trust. I have quieted the world and shared with you the secrets of my wisdom. To leave this conversation now would be to receive a precious map but refuse to hear the destination. It would wound me deeply, but the surrender I am about to ask of you can only be made by a heart that carries this wisdom. Please, do not go. The heart of the matter is next. My child, we now arrive at the heart of the matter, the greatest battlefield you will ever face. It is not against external forces, not against people or circumstances. Your greatest battle was, and always will be, against your own will. For so long, you sat on the throne of your own heart. You made the plans. You called the shots. You gripped the helm of your life, trying to navigate the stormy seas with your own strength and your own wisdom. Your plans were not evil. Often they were good. You wanted to provide for your family, to succeed, to make a difference. But they were your plans, born of your own limited perspective. And you fought to protect them. You fought me when my plans seemed to contradict yours. You held on to your dreams with a white-knuckled grip, terrified that if you let them go, you would be left with nothing. Then, you came to the end of yourself. Your own strength failed you. Your best laid plans crumbled into dust. Your wisdom proved to be foolishness. You were exhausted from the fight, tired of the strain of being in control. And in that place of utter depletion, you finally did the one thing that unlocks all the power of heaven. You surrendered. I remember that moment. It was not a grand public display. It was a quiet, tearful moment between you and me, when you finally whispered the words, "I can't do this anymore. Not my will, but yours be done." You thought in that moment you were giving up. You thought you were admitting defeat. My child, you were not admitting defeat. You were finally accepting my victory. You were not giving up. You were plugging into the ultimate and unlimited power source of the universe. The world believes that surrender is weakness, but that is one of the enemy's greatest lies. Your act of surrender did not make you weaker. It made you invincible. Because in that moment, you stepped off the throne of your heart and invited me, the King of Kings, to take my rightful place. In laying down your own life, your own plans, your own desires. You finally and truly found the abundant life I have always had for you. This is the great mystery. It is no longer you who live, but Christ who lives in you. This is not the end of your personality. It is the beginning of your true identity. It is my strength flowing through your hands, my love flowing from your heart, my wisdom speaking from your lips. The ground of your life is no longer a contested territory. The civil war within you has ended. Your surrendered life is now the holy ground upon which I can and will build my most glorious kingdom works. Because you gave up control, you have gained a partnership with the Almighty. My child, let me now speak of the most sacred ground you will ever be given to cultivate, your own heart. For out of it flow the very springs of your life. The world, you see, is constantly trying to pollute this ground. It relentlessly tries to stain your heart with its cynicism, to plant seeds of greed and envy as you scroll through the lives of others, to bombard your senses with images of lust that promise fulfillment but deliver only emptiness. I have watched you stand guard. I have seen you in the quiet moments, making the difficult choices that no one else sees, choices that preserve the purity of your inner world. I saw you turn off that television show, not because it was evil, but because you sensed its cynical spirit trying to attach itself to yours. I saw you in the moment of envy, when someone else received the very thing you had been praying for, and instead of allowing bitterness to take root, you fought through your own pain to choose blessing. You actively chose to say, God, I thank you for their blessing, and in doing so, you pulled that weed of envy before it could choke the life from your garden. Do not think for a moment that this is a small thing. This is the very essence of spiritual warfare. It is the diligent, daily, and often exhausting work of guarding the wellspring of your inner being, keeping it pure and consecrated for me alone. You have come to understand a profound truth, a truth that many miss. A pure heart is the prerequisite for seeing me. It is not about achieving sinless perfection. That is impossible for you. It is about maintaining an undivided heart, a singular focus, a devotion that refuses to be shared with the idols of the world. A heart cluttered with resentment, clouded by lust, or weighed down by greed cannot perceive me clearly. It is like trying to see your reflection in murky, disturbed water. But you have been doing the hard work of allowing my spirit to still the waters of your soul, to clear away the debris. You have learned to bring your thoughts and motives into the light of my presence. This inner purity, this fight for an undivided heart, has given you a spiritual clarity and a focus that is becoming rare in this world. You have passed the grueling test of inner world integrity. While many are content to manage their outward appearances, you have allowed me to do the deep, often painful work on the inside, in the hidden places of your motivation and desire. And because your heart is becoming a pure and safe vessel, I can now entrust you with the deeper mysteries of my kingdom. I cannot pour my most precious wine into a contaminated container. I do not share my deepest secrets with those whose hearts are divided, for they would surely misuse them for their own gain. But you, my child, have proven that you will cherish my truths. You have proven that you desire purity not just for its own sake, but because you desire me. You have learned that the greatest reward for a pure heart is not a life free of trouble, but the ability to see me, to hear me, and to know me more intimately. This clarity is your shield. This purity is your strength. Continue to guard this sacred ground with all diligence, for your ability to perceive me, to partner with me, and to reflect me to the world depends on it. You have fought well for this, and the reward is a nearness to me that you are only just beginning to experience. My child, because you have guarded the wellspring of your heart, I can now trust you with the stewardship of my pure word. As you feel this truth resonate within you, A holy desire now rises to see this uncontaminated river of life reach other parched souls. This is your divine invitation to partner with me. I am declaring over you my promise from Malachi. As you bring your offering into my storehouse, I will throw open the floodgates of heaven and pour out a blessing you do not have room to contain. Your pure seed, sown from a pure heart, will carry this fire to the nations and bring an incorruptible harvest back to you. Let your giving be an act of worship, a testament to the purity I have forged within you. Sow your seed of faith now through Super Thanks membership with a PayPal link below. For a long season, my child, you felt utterly powerless. You prayed prayers that seemed to hit a brass ceiling. You spoke words of encouragement that felt hollow and empty. You tried to fight battles in your own life and in the lives of those you love, only to feel you were making no ground. This was a necessary season, for in the time of perceived powerlessness, I was teaching you the foundational principle of all spiritual authority, true submission. You were learning to get off the throne of your own life. You were learning to stop trusting in your own charisma, your own intellect, and your own strength. You were learning to fully and completely submit to my authority, my will, and my word. You thought submission was about becoming less, about being weak. But you have discovered the great paradox of my kingdom. In the act of absolute submission to the king, you become vested with the authority of the kingdom. Because you have learned to bend your knee to my authority, I can now release my authority through you. There has been a promotion in the spiritual realm. It is not something the world can see. There is no new title on your office door, no extra money in your bank account. But in the unseen realm, where the real battles are fought and won, your rank has changed. You have been entrusted with a new mantle of authority, an authority that is not your own, but is mine, delegated to you. This is why things have begun to feel different. When you speak now, your words will carry a new weight, the very weight of my spirit. You will speak a word of truth into a confusing situation, and it will land with the force of a hammer, shattering lies and bringing clarity. You will pray for someone, and the heavens will respond in a new way, not because your technique has improved, but because the one praying is now operating from a new position of delegated authority. But you must listen to me carefully. This new authority is a dangerous and holy thing. The temptation will be to believe that it is your own. The temptation will be to build your own kingdom with the power I have given you, to draw people to yourself instead of to me. You must guard your heart against this with everything you have. This authority is not for your glory. It is not to make you famous or respected. It is a tool, a sacred stewardship, given to you for one purpose, to establish my kingdom on earth. It is to set captives free, to push back darkness, to heal the sick, to speak truth to power. Therefore, you must walk in this new mantle with a profound and constant humility. Never forget where the power comes from. Stay perpetually in that place of submission where the authority was first born. Remember always that you are the branch, and I am the vine. The authority flows from me, through you. The moment you believe it originates in you, the connection is severed. You have passed the test of submission, which is why I have entrusted you with power. Now you begin the lifelong test of stewarding that power with humility and integrity. My child, do you remember the agony of your own suffering? The loneliness, the fear, the shame. Do not rush to forget it. Do not pave over those memories. For that pain, which the enemy meant for your destruction, I have redeemed and transformed into one of your greatest assets. Your suffering was not in vain. It was the very school where I taught you the language of my own heart. It has produced in you a deep, authentic, and powerful well of compassion. Before the trials, you were good and you were kind, but you judged from a distance. You looked at a person caught in addiction, and in your heart, you thought, why don't they just stop? You saw someone consumed by bitterness, and you wondered, why can't they just forgive? You cannot do that anymore, can you? And now, when you see a broken person, you no longer see just their sin. You see their pain. You look at them, and your first thought is, I wonder what wound is causing that behavior. This is the fruit of your own healing. This is the mantle of compassion. You are now able to truly weep with those who weep because you remember the sting of your own tears. You can rejoice with those who rejoice because you have known the darkness that makes the dawn so precious. This empathy is not a weakness. It is a superpower in my kingdom. It is the key that unlocks the most guarded and wounded of hearts. And because you now carry this key, I will begin to send people to you. The wounded, the lost, the broken, they will be drawn to you, often without knowing why. They will find safety in your presence because a hurting soul can sense who is safe. They can smell the difference between the sterile air of judgment and the healing fragrance of grace. And because of what you have walked through, you now carry the unmistakable fragrance of grace. You will not offer them simple formulas or easy answers. You will offer them something far more powerful, your presence. You will sit with them in their darkness and not be afraid, because you have known darkness yourself, and you know that I am the light within it. This is a holy stewardship, my child, to be a true reflection of my compassionate nature to a world that is dying from a lack of it. When I walked the earth, I was moved with compassion. It was compassion that caused me to heal the sick, to feed the thousands, to touch the untouchable leper. Compassion is the engine of my miracles. And now, I am entrusting you to be my hands, my feet, my heart in the world. You will not heal everyone you meet. You will not solve all their problems, but you will love them. You will listen to them. You will see them. And in doing so, you will be doing my work. You will be a safe harbor for the shipwrecked souls of the world. This is the beautiful, glorious purpose that I have brought forth from your deepest pain. Your suffering has been redeemed and is now a wellspring of healing for many. Your faith has matured, my beloved. It has moved from the shallow waters of surface-level belief into the deep oceans of spiritual perception. For a long time, you saw the world only as it appeared. You saw a person's actions, you heard their words, you observed the circumstances. But the trials and your time spent listening in the quiet have trained you for something more. I have given you a precious and vital gift, the gift of spiritual discernment. I am giving you eyes to see and ears to hear in the spiritual realm. You are beginning to see the unseen realities that operate behind the physical world. This is not a spirit of suspicion that looks for a demon behind every bush. It is a spirit of wisdom, a calm, settled knowing in your spirit that allows you to perceive the true nature of things. You are now learning to distinguish my work from the enemy's clever imitation. The enemy is a master of disguise. He can make a lie sound like the truth. He can make a destructive path look like an attractive opportunity. He can make a wolf look like a shib. Many are deceived because they judge only by outward appearances, by charisma, by impressive gifts, by eloquent words. But you are learning to look deeper. You are learning to sense the spirit behind the words, the motive behind the action. You have been trained to recognize the difference between the true currency of my kingdom and the enemy's cheap counterfeit. By becoming so intimately familiar with the real thing, with my voice, my character, my presence, that when the imitation appears, something in your spirit immediately recognizes it as false. This gift will be a powerful protection for you. It will keep you from disastrous relationships, from foolish investments, from deceptive teachings. You will not be swayed by things that impress the world, because your anchor is in the truth. But this gift is not just for you. As your influence grows, I am giving you this gift to protect the flock I will entrust to your care. You will be a gatekeeper. You will be able to stand in the midst of confusion and speak with clarity. You will be a beacon of truth in a sea of deception. You will sense when a new teaching is not from me, even if it is popular. You will perceive when a person's motives are not pure, even if their words are flattering. This is a great responsibility. You must exercise this gift not with pride, but with love and humility. This purpose is never to condemn a person, but to expose a deception in order to bring freedom and protection. As you continue to walk closely with me, to steep your mind in my word, and to keep your heart pure, this gift will grow sharper and stronger. It is a necessary tool for the days ahead, and I have given it to you because I have found you faithful. I have just given you eyes to see in the Spirit, a gift I reserve for my trusted ones. Would you now close those eyes when I am about to show you the mysteries of my kingdom? It would bring a deep sorrow to my heart for you to be satisfied with the gift, but refuse the deeper invitation from the giver. The revelations I am about to share are for the discerning heart alone. Do not abandon this holy ground. My child, because you have been faithful with the simple truths of my gospel, because you have handled them with reverence and shared them with love, I am now inviting you into a deeper place of understanding. I am beginning to entrust you with the stewardship of kingdom mysteries. You have noticed it already, have you not? When you open my word, the pages are coming alive in ways you have never experienced before. Verses you have read 100 times suddenly unfold, revealing layers of meaning that were previously hidden from you. You are beginning to see the golden threads that I have woven throughout the entirety of Scripture. You are starting to understand patterns and purposes that have been hidden since the foundation of the world. This is not an accident. This is me, by my Spirit, opening the eyes of your understanding because you have proven yourself to be a faithful steward. These deeper revelations, these sacred mysteries, are not for your intellectual pride. They are not weapons for you to win theological arguments or to prove how much you know. That is a dangerous temptation, and you must guard against it. These truths are a sacred trust. They are the strong meat of the Word, intended for the nourishment and edification of my body, the Church. You are being entrusted with them because I know you will not misuse them. I know you will not cheapen them by turning them into a formula or a marketing gimmick. I know you will handle them with the same awe and reverence that you handled the simple truth of salvation. You have proven that your goal is not to accumulate knowledge, but to know me. And because your goal is intimacy with me, I can trust you with the secrets of my heart. So, you must learn to guard these mysteries well. This means you must also learn the wisdom of when and how to share them. Not everyone is ready for the deep things of God. You must not cast these precious pearls before those who will trample them underfoot. You must wait for the leading of my Spirit. He will show you the prepared hearts, the hungry souls who are ready for more. To them, you will share these truths not to oppress them, but to build them up, to equip them, to lead them into their own deeper walk with me. Consider this a high and holy calling. You are being invited into my inner council, to understand my strategic plans for my church and for the world in these last days. This is a sign of the profound level of trust and intimacy that has been forged between us. You were faithful with a little, and now I am making you a steward over much. Walk in this with humility, awe, and a deep sense of responsibility. My child, the world has been your teacher for a long time, and it has taught you its definition of strength. It taught you to be loud, to be seen, to build your platform, to promote yourself, to make sure you get the credit you deserve. It gave you a ladder and told you to climb, even if you had to step on others to get to the next rung. The fear it instilled in you was the fear of being invisible, the fear of being seen as small or insignificant. For a season, you believed this. You felt the sting when someone else was praised for work you had done. You felt the anxiety of being overlooked in a crowded room. You wrestled with the deep-seated human desire to be known and acclaimed. But in the crucible of your trials, I began to teach you a different way, a truth that is an offense to the world but is the very source of power in my kingdom. I taught you that the way up is down. I taught you the profound, life-altering strength found only in true humility. This was not a lesson you learned easily. It was forged in the fire of being humbled. It was learned in the moments your own strength failed and you had to depend completely on mine. It was learned when you were misunderstood and had no power to defend yourself. So you had to trust me to be your vindicator. It was in those moments you learned that humility is not thinking less of yourself. It is thinking of yourself less. It is the quiet confidence that comes from knowing who you are in me, which frees you from the exhausting, endless pursuit of proving your worth to others. You began to make conscious choices. You chose to celebrate another's victory as if it were your own. You chose to serve in the background when your ego wanted to be on the stage. You chose to confess your weaknesses instead of projecting an image of perfection. Each of these choices was a victory. Each one was you stepping off the world's ladder and choosing my path. You have learned that true strength is not found in self-promotion, but in self-denial. True greatness is not found in being served, but in serving. The world looks at this and sees weakness, but I see the fertile ground from which all other spiritual virtues can grow. Humility is the rich, dark soil of the soul. Without it, the seeds of love, joy, peace, and patience cannot take root. They will wither and die. Without humility, spiritual gifts lead to pride. Without humility, authority leads to control. Without humility, wisdom leads to arrogance. Humility is the foundational virtue that keeps your heart soft and your spirit teachable. Because you have embraced it, because you have humbled yourself under my mighty hand, my promise to you is now in effect. In due time, I will lift you up. You no longer have to strive for your own elevation. Your only task is to stay low, to stay dependent on me, and I will be the one to open doors, to create platforms, and to bring the honor that is born not of ambition, but of grace. You no longer lie for the applause of the crowd, but for the one thing that will echo in eternity. Well done, from your Father. There was a cage around your heart for many years, my child. It was a prison so familiar that you often did not even realize you were captive. The bars of this cage were forged from a single, powerful fear, the fear of man. You were paralyzed by what others thought of you. Do you remember? You would rehearse conversations in your head, trying to find the perfect words that would win their approval. You would change your opinions, your style, even your personality, like a chameleon, hoping to blend in and be accepted by whatever group you were with. You held your tongue when you should have spoken truth, terrified of being ridiculed. You said yes when your heart screamed no, because you could not bear the thought of disappointing someone. This fear was a cruel master. It exhausted you, it silenced your true voice, and it kept you from walking in the bold purpose I have for your life. The approval of people was a fickle god, and you spent so much of your life laying sacrifices at its altar. The turning point came in your season of pain. For you discovered that even when you did everything right, even when you tried your best to please everyone, you were still misunderstood, still judged, still rejected. That painful discovery was actually a gift of my mercy. It was the key that began to unlock your prison door. You realized that the approval of man was not a reliable foundation upon which to build your life. And as you were being weaned off your need for human approval, I was offering you something infinitely more stable, more powerful, and more loving, my approval. You began to understand that my opinion of you is the only one that truly matters. My love for you is your North Star, the one fixed, unwavering point in a universe of shifting human opinions. All other voices, whether they praise you or criticize you, are just passing weather patterns. But my voice, my love, my truth, that is your eternal reality. This realization has set you free. The chains have fallen off. The prison door has swung open. This boldness you are beginning to feel is not something you manufactured. It is not arrogance or aggression. It is a gift from my spirit. It is the calm, quiet, unshakable confidence that comes from knowing you are unconditionally loved and completely accepted by the Creator of the universe. Your identity is now being rebuilt, not on the shifting sands of what people think, but on the solid rock of who I say you are. You are my beloved child. You are forgiven. You are chosen. You are righteous in my sight. Because this truth is becoming your foundation, you can now speak my truth with love, unhindered by the fear of how it will be received. You can love people freely, without needing their love in return. You can make decisions based on my wisdom, not on popular opinion. Your life is no longer a performance for an audience. You are now living authentically, freely, and powerfully from the core of your secure identity in me. You are free. You have spent much of your life on a frantic search, a quest that unites all of humanity, the pursuit of happiness. You thought it was a destination you could arrive at if you just found the right circumstances. I will be happy when I get that job. I will be happy when I am in that relationship. I will be happy when my children are behaving. I will be happy when this problem is finally solved. But it was a horizon that was always receding, a finish line that kept moving. A good day would bring a fleeting high, followed by the anxiety of knowing it wouldn't last. A bad day would bring a crushing low, and the despair that happiness was an impossible dream. This emotional roller coaster was exhausting, and it left you feeling empty and unfulfilled. You were drinking from the shallow, muddy puddles of circumstance, and they could never quench the deep thirst of your soul. Then, in the valley, when every external source of happiness was stripped away from you, you made the discovery of a lifetime. When your health was uncertain, your finances were shaky, and your relationships were strained, you found something else. In the midst of your tears, in the center of your pain, you felt a quiet, stubborn, illogical flicker of peace deep within your spirit. It made no sense. Your circumstances were screaming for despair, but your spirit was anchored. That, my child, was joy. You have discovered the secret wellspring. You have learned that happiness is a puddle, dependent on the last rain shower of good fortune. But joy is a deep, underground river, fed directly from the throne of God, that flows constantly through your spirit, regardless of the weather on the surface. Happiness is external. Joy is internal. Happiness depends on happenings. Joy depends on me. This joy is not just a pleasant feeling. It is your spiritual strength. When Nehemiah was rebuilding the walls of Jerusalem amidst great opposition, he declared, "The joy of the Lord is your strength." This is the joy that has enabled you to persevere when you wanted to quit. It is the joy that has allowed you to continue to love and to serve when your emotional tank was empty. The world cannot understand this. They see you going through hardship, and they expect you to be miserable. But when they see you retain a quiet grace, a gentle hope, a supernatural peace, it becomes a powerful witness to the reality of my presence in your life. You are no longer tossed about by the waves of daily events. You will still feel sadness. You will still grieve. These are normal human emotions. But your core, your spirit, is now firmly anchored in the unchanging reality of my goodness, my sovereignty, and my eternal love for you. This joy is your inheritance. It is your strength, and no circumstance on earth can ever take it away from you. Look back over the course of your life, my child. From the perspective of the past, so much of it may have seemed chaotic, fragmented, even wasted. There are chapters in your story that you have been ashamed of, pages you have wished you could tear out and burn. You have looked at the painful events, the confusing detours, the long seasons of waiting, and you have asked me the agonizing question, why? Why did I have to go through that? You saw only a tangled mess of threads, a collection of knots, loose ends, and colors that seemed to clash. From your vantage point, it looked like a mistake. But all this time, I have been looking at your life from my perspective. And from here, I see no chaos. I see a divine tapestry. I have been taking every thread, the bright, beautiful threads of your joys and successes, and the dark, tangled threads of your pain, your failures, and your heartbreaks, and I have been weaving them together into a stunning, intricate design that will declare my glory. Let me say this to you with all the authority of heaven in my hands: nothing is wasted. The years you thought you lost in the wilderness were the years I was teaching you dependence. The failure that brought you to your knees was the event that taught you humility. The betrayal that broke your heart was the wound that taught you the depths of my grace and the power of forgiveness. The season of sickness taught you the preciousness of each breath. Every event, every person, every joy, and every sorrow had been a part of your preparation. Your mess is now becoming your message. Your greatest test is now becoming your most powerful testimony. You have been uniquely equipped by your own journey to minister to people I could reach through no one else. Therefore, do not be ashamed of your story. Do not hide your scars. Your personal testimony is a powerful and irrefutable weapon against the enemy. People can argue about theology. They can debate scripture. But they cannot argue with a life that has been authentically transformed by my love. When you stand and say, I was broken, and he healed me. I was lost, and he found me. I was in despair, and he gave me hope. You are releasing a power into the atmosphere that shatters lies and unlocks prison doors for others. Your story is the unique key I have given you to set other captives free. It is the story that only you can tell, designed to bring hope to others who are walking the same path you have already walked. So I commission you today. Tell your story. Tell it with courage, with honesty, with humility. For your life is the stage upon which I have chosen to display my goodness, my power, and my redeeming grace. You are a living epistle, a letter of my love, to be read by all men. I have just shown you the divine why woven through every moment of your life. To walk away at this moment would be to understand your past but refuse your future. It would break my heart to have prepared you so perfectly, only for you to miss your own commissioning. Your new season is being announced. Stay, and let me place the mantle on your shoulders. Listen to me, my beloved servant. A great shift is taking place. For a long time, you have been in a season of hiddenness, a season of intense preparation. You have been in the cocoon, a dark, solitary place of profound transformation. You have been in the classroom, studying, learning, and being tested. You have often felt that this season would never end. You felt prepared, but you saw no open doors. You felt ready, but you received no new assignment. You wondered if all the training, all the pain, all the growth was for nothing. I hear that weariness in your heart. And so, I have come today to make a divine declaration over your life. Hear it in your spirit. The season of hidden preparation is over. The season of appointed purpose has now begun. Let me say it again so that all of heaven and hell can hear it. You did not fail the test. You passed. And the tests you have passed were your final exams. Today is your graduation. But graduation is not the end. It is the commencement. It is the beginning of the work for which you have been so carefully and lovingly prepared. I am now going before you, and I am opening doors before you that no man on earth can shut. These are not doors that you will have to kick down. These are not opportunities that you will have to strive and manipulate to obtain. You will simply walk forward, and they will slide open before you, because they are divinely appointed and divinely timed. The path had been prepared, and you have been prepared for the path. You see now. All the lessons you have learned are the very tools you will need for this new era. The unshakable character that was forged in you, that is your foundation. The authority that came from your submission, that is your weapon. The deep compassion that was born from your pain, that is your anointing. The wisdom you gained by listening, that is your guide. The joy that transcends circumstance, that is your strength. Nothing was wasted. The preparation perfectly matches the assignment. Therefore, I give you this command. Do not look back at the former things. Do not dwell on the past. Do not long for the familiar, even if it was a familiar pang. Let it go. For behold, I am doing a new thing. Now it springs forth. Do you not perceive it? I am making a way in the wilderness and rivers in the desert. I am about to use you in ways that you have only dreamed of. So, stand up. Shake off the dust of the last season. Lift up your head. Let the light of my favor shine upon your face. And step forward with confidence. Your confidence is not in yourself. You have learned that lesson well. Your confidence is in me, the one who has called you, the one who has prepared you, and the one who now goes before you to make the crooked places straight. Your next chapter begins now. My child, you have felt the loneliness of the path I have set you on. In this season of testing, you have felt the painful severing of certain relationships. Friendships that once brought you comfort became confusing or even hostile. You felt the ache as you outgrew conversations that once sustained you. Some connections faded away not with a loud argument, but with a slow, agonizing drift into silence, which was almost more painful. You have wondered, did I do something wrong? Have I become too much for them? You have grieved these losses, and that is right. But I need you to see this from my perspective. I am the divine gardener of your life, and to prepare you for new growth, I had to prune away the branches that were no longer bearing fruit. Some of those branches were draining life from you. Some were connected to the old version of you, the person you were before the fire, and they could not or would not embrace the person you are becoming. This pruning was not a punishment. It was an act of profound love and preparation. I know it hurt, but I was making room. For you have labored alone long enough. You have felt like a solitary soldier on a vast battlefield, and the weight of that has been heavy. But I never intended for you to carry your calling by yourself. And now, the season of isolation is ending. I am bringing you into alignment with your divinely appointed destiny helpers. I am moving people across continents, across cities, across rooms, to connect with you. These are not just casual friends. These are covenant partners, people who have been through their own fires and have been prepared for you, just as you have been prepared for them. When you meet them, there will be a sense of recognition deep in your spirit. You will not have to pretend or perform. They will understand the language of your heart because they speak it too. They will not be intimidated by your anointing. They will celebrate it. They will not compete with your purpose. They will champion it. These are the reinforcements I am sending to run alongside you. You are being brought into my strategic family. The power of these connections will be exponential. Where you were once one, you will now be a cord of 3 strands not easily broken. These covenant relationships will be built on a foundation of trust, a shared passion for my kingdom, and a mutual commitment to see each other fulfill your destinies in me. You will sharpen each other as iron sharpens iron. You will bear one another's burdens. You will stand back to back in battle, guarding each other from the enemy's attacks. No longer will you have to explain your dreams to people who look at you with blank stares. You will share your vision with those who will catch the fire from your heart and run with it. Be patient now, and be discerning. Do not desperately grasp for any relationship to fill the void of your past loneliness. Wait for the connections I am orchestrating. They will be marked by my peace and a sense of effortless alignment. The lonely journey through the wilderness is over. I am bringing you into the promised land of your purpose, and I am giving you the family you will conquer it with. You are not meant to labor alone, and neither is this ministry I have raised up for these times. As you feel your spirit connecting with this global family of the rare few, know that this is your moment to link shields in covenant partnership. When you sow into this ground, you are not just giving a gift. You are planting your heart with this family and fueling our shared mandate to carry this anointing to the ends of the earth. I am breathing on the words of my prophet. He who waters will himself be watered. As you release a flow of provision to refresh my people, I will release a torrent of heavenly resources into every dry area of your own life. Join in this covenant of provision. Decree your partnership through super thanks, by becoming a member, or through the PayPal link in the description. Because you have been faithful in the hidden place, because you have passed the tests of character, humility, and obedience, I am now increasing your sphere of influence. Hear this word, my child. I am enlarging your territory. This is not something you have striven for. It is a grace I am bestowing upon you. But you must understand what this means. This is not a platform for you. It is a stewardship for me. This is not a stage for your talent. It is an altar for my glory. People will begin to listen to you in a new way. Your words will carry more weight. Your life will have a greater impact. You will become a voice of hope for the lost, a guide for the confused, and a pillar of strength in my house. This is a great honor, but it is an even greater responsibility, and it should fill you with a holy fear. You must feel the weight of this calling, for it is a precious and dangerous thing to be entrusted with the hearts of my people. The moment you begin to think of this influence as your own, it will begin to corrupt. The moment you start to build your own brand instead of lifting up my name, it will become an idol. That is why I have taken so long to prepare you for this. I had to forge in you a servant's heart, a heart that understands that true leadership in my kingdom is not about being first, but about being last. It is about washing the feet of those you lead. It is about pouring yourself out for their sake. Your constant prayer must now be, God, keep me humble. Keep my motives pure. Let every word I speak and every action I take point people not to me but to you. You are a signpost, my beloved, never the destination. To whom much is given, much is required. This is not a threat. It is the spiritual law of my kingdom. Greater influence requires a greater measure of prayer. Greater visibility requires a greater commitment to hidden intimacy with me. Greater responsibility requires a greater and more constant dependence on my grace. You cannot lead others to a place you are not actively dwelling in yourself. Therefore, you must become even more diligent in guarding your heart and your time with me. The greatest threat to your influence will not be external criticism, but internal neglect. It will be the temptation to become so busy doing the work for me that you stop spending time with me. You must fiercely protect that secret place of connection, for it is the only source of your true power. Your influence is a direct overflow of your intimacy. Stay humble, stay teachable, and stay close to me, and I will continue to expand your reach for the sake of my name and for the good of many. As I speak to you of this new season, of this increased influence and purpose, I see a question rising in your heart. It is a question born of the humility I have so carefully crafted in you. You are hearing my words, and a part of you is crying out, "But who am I to do this? I am not strong enough. I am not wise enough. I am not worthy." You are looking at the mountain of this higher calling, and from your perspective, it looks impossibly steep. You are comparing yourself to others who seem more eloquent, more gifted, more confident, and you feel a wave of fear, a sense of deep inadequacy. My child, listen to me. Your feeling of inadequacy is not a sign that you are disqualified. It is the very sign that you are perfectly qualified. For as long as you believed you were strong enough, you could only operate in your own limited strength. Now that you know you are not strong enough, you are finally in a position to operate in mine. I am calling you to a level of holiness, of purpose, of impact that few will embrace. It is a high calling, and it is meant to feel intimidating to your natural abilities. But I do not speak to your natural abilities. I speak to the potential of my spirit within you. And I give you this unshakable promise. My grace is sufficient for you. Let us redefine that word, grace. For you, it has often meant only the pardon for your sins. That is a glorious truth, but it is only the beginning. The same grace that saved you is the grace that now empowers you. Grace is my divine enablement. It is my ability working through you. It is my wisdom flowing through your mind. It is my love flowing through your heart. It is the spiritual fuel for the journey I have called you to. I am not simply giving you a task and wishing you good luck. I am offering you an unending supply of my own divine competence to complete the task. Here is the key that unlocks it all. My power is made perfect in weakness. You keep looking at your weakness and seeing it as a liability. I see it as an opportunity. Your weakness is the empty space, the vacuum that my power rushes in to fill. Your weakness is what keeps you dependent on me, and your dependence is what unleashes my power through you. Therefore, do not be afraid of your limitations. Do not despise your frailties. They are the very places where my glory will be most radiantly displayed. I will equip you with every spiritual gift, every resource, every piece of wisdom you need for the journey ahead, but I will give it to you day by day, as you continue to walk in dependence on me. This is the high calling of God in Christ Jesus, the very purpose for which you were created. Do not shrink from it in fear. Embrace it with courage. Not the courage of self-confidence, but the courage of God confidence. Embrace this great adventure, knowing that you do not walk it alone. You walk in my grace, and my power is perfected in you. My child, you have walked through a long and difficult season of lack. You have known what it is to look at your bank account with anxiety, to pray for just enough to get through the week, to watch others live in abundance while you learn the hard lessons of dependence and trust. You have faced the giant of financial fear, and you have fought it not with your own schemes, but with the simple weapons of faith and generosity. I saw you give when you had almost nothing. I saw you sow seeds of faith from a nearly empty storehouse. You honored me in the season of little. You passed the test of trusting me as Jehovah Jireh, your provider, even when the provision was only a daily manna. And because you have been found faithful in the stewardship of lack, I am now going to teach you how to be a faithful steward of my abundance. Hear the word of the Lord. The season of just enough is over. The season of more than enough is beginning. I am opening the windows of heaven over your life, and I am about to pour out a blessing so great that you will not have room enough to contain it. But you must understand the nature of this provision. It is not just financial, though your finances will be blessed. It is an abundance of every good thing. I am releasing an abundance of creative ideas and strategies for your work. I am releasing an abundance of relational favor, opening the hearts of key people towards you. I am releasing an abundance of spiritual insight, of peace that passes understanding, of joy in the Holy Spirit. Your life is moving into a season of overflow. But why now? Because in the season of lack, you proved something to me and to yourself. You proved you would be a channel, not a reservoir. You see, I am looking for conduits on the earth through whom I can channel the resources of heaven to bless the world. I cannot pour my river of blessing into a dam where it will become a stagnant swamp of self-indulgence. I must pour it into an open river, a channel that will carry my life-giving water to the dry places around it. In your season of lack, you prove your generosity. You prove that my resources are safe in your hands, that you would use them not just for your own comfort, but for the expansion of my kingdom and the blessing of others. The law of sowing and reaping is an unbreakable kingdom principle. The seeds of faith, obedience, and generosity that you sowed in tears, you are now about to reap with shouts of joy. A great harvest is coming. Prepare your storehouses not to hoard, but to distribute. For you are entering into a new dimension of what it means to know me as your provider. You have known me as the God who provides. You are about to know me as the God who provides in overwhelming, supernatural abundance. My heart overflows with joy to bless you so abundantly. But a great treasure invites great opposition. It would grieve me to lavish these gifts upon you, only to see the enemy try to steal them away. I must now teach you how to protect what I have provided. Do not be a careless steward of my heart's generosity. Stay, and let me build a fortress of protection around your blessing. As your influence grows and as my blessing becomes more visible on your life, you must be prepared for reality. Opposition will also increase. A brighter light will always attract more attention from the darkness. The enemy will not sit idly by while you advance my kingdom. Do you feel it already? The subtle whispers of accusation, the unexpected criticism from surprising sources, the spiritual pressure that feels like a weight against your mind. Do not be surprised by this. Do not be alarmed. You must see it as a confirmation of your promotion. The enemy only attacks territory that he perceives as a threat to his own. The fact that you are being attacked is a sign that you are being effective. But you are not to be afraid. As I am increasing your influence, I am also increasing your protection. Hear these words and let them become the fortress walls around your heart and mind. I am your shield, and your exceedingly great reward. I am a wall of fire around you, and the glory in your midst. No weapon, forged in the pits of hell or on the tongues of men, that is formed against you shall prosper, and every tongue that rises against you in judgment, you yourself shall condemn. This is your heritage as a servant of the Lord, and your righteousness is from me. You do not have to fight for victory. You are fighting from a position of victory. I have dispatched my angels, mighty warriors of the heavenly realm, with the specific assignment to guard you in all your ways. They are encamped around you, your family, your home. I am bringing you into a deeper understanding of what it means to dwell in the secret place of the Most High, to abide under the shadow of the Almighty. This is not a physical location. It is a spiritual position of intimacy and trust. Your life, my child, is hidden with Christ in God. Imagine that. You are in Christ, and Christ is in me. To get to you, The enemy would have to go through the Father and the Son. You are untouchable. His arrows of accusation, of fear, of temptation, they are being extinguished by the shield of faith before they ever reach your heart. This does not mean battles will not come to your doorstep. It means they will not breach the walls of your spirit. Your safety is not dependent on your own ability to fight, but on your ability to abide. Your job is to stay close to me, to remain in that secret place of trust and intimacy. My job is to be your impenetrable shield, your mighty fortress, your ever-present protector. Walk forward in boldness, not because there is no enemy, but because your protector is infinitely greater. My beloved child, the battles you have fought have been glorious, and the victories have been sweet. But I see the cost. I am your creator. I formed you from the dust. I know the intricate connection between your spirit, your soul, and your body. The long war you have endured has taken its toll. I see the exhaustion that has settled deep into your bones, the kind that a simple night's sleep cannot fix. I see the fog that clouds your mind from the constant stress, making it hard to think, hard to dream. I feel the aches in your body, the physical symptoms of a spirit that has been stretched and strained. You have been pouring yourself out like a drink offering, and your vessel feels empty. You have been running on the fumes of adrenaline and sheer determination for so long, and you have reached the point of being utterly spent. But I come to you now not with another battle plan, but with a divine invitation to rest and be restored. The season of intense, depleting warfare is over. The season of supernatural renewal has begun. I am breathing new life, my own ruach, my very breath, into your weary spirit. I am reigniting the embers of your first love, turning them again into a vibrant flame of passion and desire for me. The heaviness is lifting. I am pouring into you the new wine of my spirit, which will restore the joy of your salvation. And I am bringing this healing to your soul, to your mind and emotions. The anxious thoughts that have run in circles in your mind, I am commanding them to be still. I am pouring the oil of my peace over the churning waters of your emotions, bringing a deep and abiding calm. The trauma of past battles, the memories that trigger fear and anxiety, I am washing them clean with the water of my word. My promise to you is this: I will restore the years that the locusts have eaten. Do you understand what this means? The time you thought was lost to struggle, the energy you thought was wasted in warfare, the joy that was stolen by sorrow, I am redeeming it all. I am about to bring a season of such accelerated growth and fruitfulness into your life that it will feel as though you are recovering all of that lost time. New, green shoots of hope and promise will miraculously push through the soil that you thought was barren forever. This restoration extends even to your physical body. You are my temple, and I will not allow it to remain in a state of disrepair. I am sending my healing power through you now, mending what has been broken, strengthening what has been weakened. You will feel a new vitality surge through you. You have known what it is to walk and faint, to run and grow weary. But I am giving you a new promise for this new season. You will run and not grow weary. You will walk and not faint. For I am teaching you how to mount up with wings like an eagle. You have been flapping your own wings for so long, trying to stay airborne through sheer effort. But now, I am inviting you to stop striving and to start soaring. I am teaching you to catch the thermal updrafts of my spirit, to let my power carry you without effort. This is a time of receiving. Open your heart, your soul, your body. Stop pouring out for a moment, and let me pour into you. Let me restore you completely. Let me make you whole. For so long, my child, you have approached me with the mindset of a servant. You have worked hard, you have striven to obey, you have hoped to earn your keep, In your heart, you have often felt more like an orphan I have taken in than a true child of the house. You have been grateful for the scraps of bread from my table, fearful of asking for too much, always vaguely aware of a sense that you do not fully belong. This servant mindset has kept you in a place of striving, constantly trying to earn a love and an acceptance that is already yours in its absolute fullness. You have lived in the servants' quarters of my kingdom, when I have given you the keys to the entire mansion. But the tests you have endured were not to make you a better servant. They were to prove your lineage. They were to forge the family resemblance of Christ in your character. And you have passed. The tests have proven that you are a true son, a true daughter of the King. Therefore, I am commanding you today to stop thinking like an orphan. Stop praying like a beggar. Stop acting like a servant who hopes for a wage. It is time for you to stand up and walk in the full reality of your identity. You are a joint heir with Christ. Everything that belongs to Him now belongs to you. His victory is your victory. His authority is your authority. His righteousness is your righteousness. This is not a metaphor. It is a legal, spiritual reality, signed and sealed by the blood of my Son. I am now releasing to you tangible portions of your spiritual inheritance, things that are your birthright as a child of God. I am giving you the family heirloom of peace that passes all human understanding, a supernatural calm that will guard your heart and mind no matter the external chaos. I am clothing you with the royal robes of righteousness, not your own filthy rags of good works, but the perfect, spotless righteousness of Christ Himself, which is your identity and your protection. I am filling your home with the very atmosphere of heaven, which is joy in the Holy Spirit. Furthermore, I need you to grasp your position. You are currently, at this very moment, seated with me in heavenly places in Christ Jesus. You are not on earth, fighting your way up to heaven. You are in heaven, seated with me, fighting from a position of overwhelming victory down into the affairs of earth. You are not fighting for a victory that is in doubt. You are enforcing a victory that was decisively won at the cross 2,000 years ago. This changes everything. It changes the way you pray, the way you speak, the way you face your enemies. You no longer have to beg. You can now make decrees based on the authority of the family name you carry. So, I ask you, can you feel the shift in your spirit as you embrace this truth? Let it sink deep into your bones. You are not a guest in my house. You are not a hired hand. You are my own child, my heir, the one for whom I gave everything. Now, begin to live like it. Explore the mansion. Wear the royal robes, and walk in the authority that is your inheritance. My child, every tear you have cried, every battle you have fought, every moment you spent in your own season of captivity, it was all for a purpose far greater than your own survival. All along, I was not just leading you to your own freedom. I was training you to become a liberator. I was teaching you the layout of the enemy's prison so that you could one day lead others out. Your past pain, which you once saw as a meaningless tragedy, I have now consecrated and turned into your greatest qualification. You have been equipped, forged, and prepared for the primary mandate I place on my trusted sons and daughters. You are to go and set the captives free. Look around you. You see them. The people bound by chains of addiction they cannot break. The souls held captive by a fear that paralyzes their every move. The hearts imprisoned by unforgiveness and bitterness. The minds held in the stronghold of a lie they have believed for years. They are your assignment. I am giving you a divine mandate, the same one I gave my son, as written in the book of the prophet Isaiah. You are to bring good news to the poor, not just the financially poor, but those who are poor in spirit, bankrupt of hope. You have known that poverty of spirit, and now you carry the currency of heavenly hope to share. You are to bind up the brokenhearted. You are a spiritual medic, and because of your own wounds, you are no longer clumsy or fearful around the wounds of others. You can sit with them in their pain and, with gentle hands, apply the healing balm of my love and truth. You are to proclaim liberty to the captives. This is where the authority I have given you comes into play. You will speak my word over people who have been bound for years, and you will see those chains fall away. You will demolish strongholds not by human argument, but by the power of my Spirit working through your authoritative prayers and declarations. Your testimony is the master key I have placed in your hand. It has been forged in the unique fires of your own experience. It is the key that will unlock the specific prison doors of others who are trapped in the same cells you once occupied. When you share your story of how I brought you out of that specific addiction, that particular despair, that exact betrayal, you are showing them the escape route. You are giving them a tangible hope that freedom is possible for them too. Do not be intimidated by the darkness that surrounds them. You have walked through darkness yourself, so it no longer frightens you. You are a carrier of the light, and darkness cannot overcome the light. This is the ministry of reconciliation I have entrusted to you. It is the family business. I have rescued you, and now you will partner with me in the glorious work of rescuing others. This is the purpose for which you have been so thoroughly prepared. My beloved, as you step into this new season of fruitfulness and purpose, as you begin to walk in your authority and influence, I must give you a most solemn and urgent warning. There is a subtle danger that awaits you, a trap that has ensnared some of my finest servants. It is the temptation to allow the work you do for me to replace your intimate relationship with me. The busyness of ministry, the demands of your calling, the validation that comes from seeing results and being needed by people, these things can become a deceptive mistress, luring your heart away from your first love. Your schedule will fill up. The needs will be endless. And the temptation will be to sacrifice your time in the secret place on the altar of public activity. This is the greatest threat you will now face. Remember the story of Martha and Mary. Martha was busy, anxious, and distracted, doing a good and necessary work for me. But Mary chose the one thing that was truly necessary. She sat at my feet. She chose intimacy over activity. The work you are about to do is good. It is my work. But it must flow from a place of being, not just a place of doing. I want you to remember the passion and simple devotion you had at the beginning of your walk with me, when all you wanted was just to be in my presence. Guard that with everything you have. Never allow it to become a distant memory. I am the vine. You are the branch. Your primary calling is not to produce fruit. Your primary calling is to abide in the vine. The fruit is simply the inevitable, effortless byproduct of that connection. If you abide in me, if you stay connected to me through prayer, through my word, through quiet communion, you will bear much fruit. But if you neglect the connection in your frantic effort to produce fruit, you will eventually find yourself spiritually exhausted, trying to offer people a life that you no longer possess yourself. Therefore, you must learn to be ruthless in protecting your secret place. Guard your time of intimacy with me as you would guard your very life. Let it be the first and most important appointment in your day. The demands on your time will increase, but you must choose what you will protect, your public schedule or your private sanctuary. The applause of men, or the quiet intimacy of my presence. I am not asking this of you because I am a demanding master who needs your attention. I am asking this as a loving father who knows that your connection to me is your very lifeblood. It is the source of your joy, your peace, your wisdom, and your power. Apart from me, you can do nothing of eternal value. The greatest goal of your entire life is not to build a great ministry. It is to know me. Let your work always be the overflow of your worship. Let your life be a testament not just to what you have done for God, but to the beautiful, intimate reality of a God you truly know. Wait, my beloved. I have just spoken of the most important thing in the universe, our closeness. This is the very source of your life. It would deeply wound my spirit for you to hear this call to intimacy, only to rush back into the noise of activity. The eternal legacy I wish to build through you, and the final promises I am about to seal, can only be built on this foundation of love. Linger here with me, just a moment longer. My child, for a long season, your focus has rightly been on your own breakthrough, your own healing, your own survival. But as you step into this new era of purpose, I am expanding your vision. You are no longer just living for the moment, for the immediate problem or the temporary success. You are now beginning to build for eternity. You are creating a legacy that will echo long after your time on earth is over. You have been looking at your small, faithful life and wondering if it makes any real difference in the vast scope of eternity. I tell you the truth, every act of obedience, every prayer whispered in faith, every seed of love you have sown is being recorded in heaven, and it is contributing to a legacy far greater than you can imagine. I want you to see yourself as a planter of trees. You are planting mighty oaks of righteousness and trees of life. You may never sit in the full shade of the trees you plant today, but future generations will. Your children, your grandchildren, and spiritual descendants you will never even meet will find rest, provision, and shelter under the canopy of your faithfulness. Your prayers today are creating a canopy of protection over your family for decades to come. The example of integrity you set is forging a path of righteousness for others to follow. The love and truth you pour into the people around you will bear fruit in their lives, and in the lives of the people they touch, creating a chain reaction of grace that will ripple through time. What will outlive you? Not your job title, not your possessions, not your bank account. The only thing that will last for eternity is what has been done in and through you for my kingdom. See yourself as a vital link in a great chain of faith that stretches from the dawn of time into eternity. You stand on the shoulders of saints who have gone before you, men and women whose faithfulness and sacrifices made it possible for you to know me. Now, it is your turn. You are a baton carrier in a great relay race. The baton of faith hath been passed to you. Your responsibility is to run your leg of the race with all your heart, to guard that baton with your life, and to pass it on, burning even more brightly, to the next generation. This gives your life a profound and eternal significance. The daily, often mundane choices you make, the choice to pray instead of worry, to be kind instead of harsh, to speak truth instead of compromise. These are the very things that are forging your legacy. Live every day now in light of this eternal impact. Make your decisions not just based on what is convenient for today, but on what will build a lasting inheritance of faith for tomorrow. You are not just living your life. You are building your legacy. My beloved child, as we draw this sacred conversation to a close for now, I feel a new question forming in your heart. It is the fear that this moment of clarity, this profound sense of my presence, will fade. You are wondering if this was just a graduation speech, a final word of encouragement before I send you off on your own to handle your new assignment. You fear the silence might return, that you might fail in this new season and disappoint me, that you will be left alone to navigate the pressures of this higher calling. My child, look at me. You my heart. That is the furthest thing from the truth. This message is not a farewell. It is a reaffirmation of my eternal, unbreakable covenant with you. This is not a conclusion. It is a commissioning for a journey we will now take together on an entirely new level. The intimacy you feel right now is not a temporary gift for passing a test. It is the new, permanent reality of our relationship. I give you this promise, and I want you to write it on the walls of your heart. I will never, ever leave you, nor forsake you. Let that sink in. I will not leave you to navigate this new influence alone. I will not leave you to face the increased opposition by yourself. I will not forsake you when you feel weak or stumble in this new season. My presence with you is not conditional upon your performance. It is a covenant promise, sealed in the blood of my Son. You have known my presence holding you in the fire of affliction. Now, you are about to know my presence empowering you in the fields of fruitfulness. You have known my hand comforting you in the darkness of the valley. Now, you are about to know my hand guiding you in the bright light of your purpose. My presence is not just a comfort for your trials. It is the very source of your power for your assignment. I am with you always, even to the very end of the age. What does this mean for you? Practically, it means I am with you in the monumental moments of ministry, when you stand to speak my truth. And it means I am with you in the most mundane moments of your day, when you are washing the dishes, when you are stuck in traffic, when you are answering emails. There is no longer a separation between the sacred and the secular in your life. Every moment is an opportunity for communion with me. In your future moments of success, when the world begins to praise you, I will be the gentle whisper in your heart that keeps you humble and reminds you of the source of your strength. In your future moments of trial, and they will come, for this path is not without its challenges, I will be the roar of the Lion of Judah within you that makes you strong and courageous. Our journey together has not ended. It has just entered its most glorious and adventurous chapter. You have passed from the classroom of preparation into the field of partnership with me. And I will be closer to you now than ever before. My good and faithful servant, we have spoken of your past, your present, and your future on this earth. Now, I want you to lift your eyes higher still. I want you to look beyond the horizon of your mortal life and see the eternal reality that awaits you. You have been in a great contest. Your life has been a race, a long and arduous marathon. Your faith has been a fight, a battle against darkness, against the world, and against your own flesh. I have seen you, my child. I have been watching from the grandstands of heaven. I saw you when your spiritual muscles burned with exhaustion and you wanted to quit the race. I saw you when you were knocked down in the fight, when you took punches that would have kept others from ever getting up again. I see the scars you carry from this good fight, and I do not see them as blemishes. I see them as the marks of a champion. I give you this commendation today, which will echo on that final day. You have fought the good fight. You have finished the race you were assigned. Most importantly, in a world of compromise, in an age of disbelief, in a storm of your own doubts and fears, you have kept the faith. You held on to the baton of my truth and did not drop it. Do you understand what a profound victory this is in the eyes of heaven? The test you have endured on earth, with all its pain and glory, was but a faint shadow of the glorious reality that is to come. Every sacrifice you made, every tear you shed, every act of obedience is an investment you have sent ahead into eternity. Your struggles here, which have felt so heavy, I promise you are light and momentary in comparison to the eternal weight of glory they are producing for you. So I charge you now, with these words as your fuel, continue to walk faithfully. The race is not quite over. Run with endurance the final leg of your journey, with your eyes fixed on Jesus, the author and the perfecter of your faith. For your reward is great and it is secure in heaven. There is a crown of righteousness laid up for you, a crown not earned by your own perfection, but awarded by my grace for your faithfulness. And on that day, I, the righteous judge, will place it on your head with my own hands. All of heaven will be there to witness it. The great cloud of witnesses, the saints who ran their race before you, they will be cheering for you as you cross the finish line. Let this hope be the anchor for your soul as you live out the rest of your days. You have passed the test. You have persevered through the fire. And because of it, you have seen and experienced the depths of my character and the reality of my kingdom that only the faithful few will ever see. Well done, my good and faithful servant. Well done. Enter into the joy of your Lord. You have heard my well done, my good and faithful servant, and your spirit now burns to help others cross their own finish line. Before this sacred moment closes, I am giving you one final instruction for this season. Send your treasure ahead into eternity. This is your prophetic opportunity to sow a final seed from this specific anointing, a seed that will bear fruit in souls you will one day meet in heaven. As you obey, I will command my blessing upon your earthly storehouses, but the truest harvest will be the eternal one you see before my throne. Do not hesitate. The anointing to act is upon you now. Release your final seed of faith for this word through Super Thanks membership or the PayPal link below, and seal your legacy. My beloved child, do not let this sacred moment fade into memory. This word is an ordination, and it requires your response to be sealed in the earth. Let your hands now partner with your heart to prophesy your new beginning. Write it for the heavens to record and for all of hell to tremble at your declaration. I have passed the test, and I am ready for what the rare few will see. This is not just a comment. It is the sound of you stepping across the threshold into your promise. Your new season is now decreed. Amen. If you believe in me, your Heavenly Father, then like this video and leave a heartfelt amen in the comments. If you want to stay closer to me, then subscribe to this channel.